Uganda! Muje tulumbe! Today mu AFCON! Muje tulumbe as the Uganda Cranes return in yet another must-win AFCON qualifier game against the Tanzania Taifa Stars on Saturday, 8th September 2018, starting at 4 p.m. Buy your ticket now at selected Airtel outlets for just 15,000 shillings ordinary, 40,000 shillings VIP, and 150,000 shillings VVIP. Muje tulumbe with Airtel, the official sponsor of the Uganda Cranes football team.
What do you want your baby to become?
Every parent desires to have a healthy and successful child. It is important to note that this starts before the baby is born. Preparing for a safe delivery is an important step towards having a healthy baby. Therefore, you should prepare for a safe delivery by doing the following. Discuss with your partner on how to prepare for a healthy baby. Start saving early and organize what you will use to go to the health center. Go for antenatal care as advised by the health worker and deliver at the health center under a skilled health worker.
Give your baby the best start in life by delivering at the health center under a skilled health worker.
Good to know you're watching UBC TV, here to inspire you. A beautiful day, and of course, the 5th day of September 2018. My name is Sandra Kahundagaba. Welcome to today's sitting, and it happens to be the 20th sitting of the first meeting of the third session of the 10th Parliament of the Republic of Uganda. And just a recap of what we had yesterday, we had issues to do with the ministerial statement on the state of security, which was presented to the August House by the Honorable Minister of Security, Eli Tumwine, and their comments came through. And what we also had for yesterday's sitting, we saw the Honorable Attorney General withdrawing the Constitutional Amendment Bill 2017, and we shall be also updating you in case it comes back to the House. We're supposed to be witnessing its second reading, was for yesterday's sitting, but however, it was withdrawn from the August House. For today's agenda, we believe we shall be looking at the bill's second reading, that is to do with the Uganda National Health Laboratory Services Bill, and also the bill's second reading, which has to do with we also have a motion for resolution of Parliament borrowing money that will help funding the agriculture in our nation. And as we speak now, the chair has already entered. Today's chair has entered the parliamentary session, and we're going to be having Honorable Jacob Olanya chairing today's session. They've already had an opening prayer, and right about now we're having a communication that is putting across. Enjoy the sitting.
Number 8, the chairperson of the committee is leading the committee members on a field trip this evening, and he has requested that if this matter could be brought forward so that we can handle it. We'll see how to deal with that when we start business. And the members had also indicated that I would guide the House on item number 3. When that moment comes, I'll do what I said I would do yesterday. I'll do it at that time. Thank you. Member for Apamadi. Right Honourable Speaker, I rise on a matter of urgent national importance relating to cattle raiding, which is being aided by police and UPDF in my constituency. Right Honourable Speaker, the Balalo, the nomadic pastoralists commonly known as Balalo, came to my constituency in around 2003, and last year in October, His Excellency the President directed that the Balalo should go back to where they belong from. Right Honourable Speaker, when this operation was done, all the Balalos went back, but the few who remained started using the police and the UPDF to raid animals because they had known all the paths and all the kraals in the constituency. Right Honourable Speaker, as I talk now, on Friday 24th of August, the battalion commander, Bondo Army Barracks, released 8 UPDF soldiers who were heavily armed to go and raid cattle in Lili village, Bondo Parish in Yanyirbu sub-county in Upper Madi County. When the owners of the kraals tried to find out what was happening, Right Honourable Speaker, these people who were heavily armed started shooting, and as I talk now, Kumakech is still in Rema Hospital. And Right Honourable Speaker, the Balalos claim that all the long-horned cattle which are in the constituency belong to them, which is not the case. We have a number of projects through which the people were given these animals. We had the NUSAF project, we had the Operation Wealth Creation, we had the Nutrition and Early Childhood Development Project, and all this, Right Honourable Speaker, led to a number of animals which were really given under all these projects to the people. Now, Right Honourable Speaker, the situation is that all the animals which were given under all these projects have been taken. There are a number of occasions on which the Balalo, with the help of the police, raided the constituency, and I want to give a brief account of what happened. Do you want to state the urgent matter so that they can respond to it?
Okay, Right Honourable Speaker, as I said, there are a number of occasions. Since I'm going to lay these details on the table, I think there's no matter. But the urgent matter, Right Honourable Speaker, is that Kumakech, who is shot, is still in the hospital. And the Balalos have taken a total of 1,001 head of cattle belonging to 75 people of Upper Madi County. And therefore, my prayers, Right Honourable Speaker, is that the government, particularly the Ministry of Defense, should come clearly to state the mandate which the Balalos have to use the police and the UPDF to terrorize the villages, because these animals are taken with the help of that. Right Honourable Speaker, I also pray that the government restocks the 1,001 heads of cattle which have been raided on various occasions. And therefore, Right Honourable Speaker, I beg to lay the following documents. One, I lay a letter to His Excellency the President of the Republic of Uganda, who is also the Commander-in-Chief of the UPDF. Right Honourable Speaker, this letter contains the letter which was written by His Excellency himself to Honorable Vincent Sempija on 24th October 2007 on issues concerning nomadic pastoralists. Right Honourable Speaker, I also beg to lay on table the photographs of the Balalos who were arrested, taken to Ulepi Sub-County Police. They are nomadic pastoralists. They were taken to Ulepi Sub-County Police, but they were referred to Arua Regional, Arua Central Police, and were released no sooner than they had entered the police. Right Honourable Speaker, I also beg to lay the photograph of Droma Yahaya, who was shot in one of the raids by the police. I beg to lay. Right Honourable Speaker, I also beg to lay a CD recording, containing the recording of the 503 Brigade Commander, Brigadier rather Colonel Bernard Tuhame, who committed himself, and they told the people that the 8 UPDF soldiers were arrested and that they are going to foot the bill of Kumaket, who is still in the hospital. I beg to lay. Right Honourable Speaker, I also beg to lay a copy of the letter written by me to the Minister of Security, in which I partly also included the list of the people whose animals were taken. I beg to lay. And lastly, Right Honourable Speaker, I beg to lay invitation letters to a number of stakeholders, which letters were received by the Office of the President to ensure that all the security operatives come and we see the way forward. I beg to lay. Right Honourable Speaker, I pray that the Minister comes up with a statement, the Minister for Defense comes up with a statement to tell us the mandate the UPDF, rather the Balalos, the nomadic pastorals have to raid the animals. And secondly, I pray that all the animals which are taken be returned. Information.
Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, we do regret the incidents that happened, especially the injury of one Komakech. We have received information about that incident. Mr. Speaker, also this matter has been discussed here in the House, and there have been some resolutions of Parliament regarding the movement of some people with cattle in different regions of the country. Earlier on, we had resolved together Parliament and government that indeed these people who are moving those areas should go back. So we have got this urgent issue to attend to, and we request the Minister of Internal Affairs to come and update the House tomorrow.
No. Please call the Minister of Internal Affairs to come here today and deal with this matter. I'm not going to put it on the order paper any other day. Let this matter be handled here and now. Please call the Minister.
Okay.
Honourable Member for Kisoro District is not here.
Proceed, Honourable Speaker.
Bula Moji.
Proceed, Honourable Speaker.
Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, I'm raising an issue of urgent national concern, and it pertains to the award of academic documents to students who studied in national teachers' colleges. That's secondary school teachers for grade 5. Right Honourable Speaker, all these NTCs are constituent colleges of Chambogo University. And the students who study in these NTCs, they get their awards from Chambogo University. These institutions, including Kaliro, Moni, Movende, and others, from the year 2013 up to date, that is 2013, 14, 15, 16, 17, all students who have studied in these institutions and completed their courses have not received their academic certificates. And because they haven't received these certificates, they cannot be employed, they cannot apply for government jobs, they cannot be registered as teachers. But what happens is that actually those who study education at the same grade from Chambogo University itself, they get the documents. It therefore seems that Chambogo University is deliberately denying the other constituent colleges to get the documents, probably to create space for their own students from Chambogo University. It is for that reason, Mr. Speaker, that I want to appeal to government to prevail over Chambogo University, actually to come here and explain to us what is taking place, because these children study with the hope of getting employment. They cannot apply for 5 years down the road. So I am requesting that government comes up and explains to us what is taking place, whether Kyambogo University has resigned from being the principal institution to issue these certificates to the students. I thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker.
Thank you very much, Honourable Member. Government.
Mr. Speaker, we request the Minister for Education to brief the House as requested by the member tomorrow. But
no,
if he comes
please, honourable Member, Honourable Chief Whip, and please call the Minister, one of the ministers, to come and deal with this matter today, so that we don't keep clogging the order paper with this kind of thing. West Budama North.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. I rise on a matter of national importance regarding the unprecedented destruction of rice fields by hailstorms in Agongara Sub-County and Agongara Town Council, requiring a government bailout from the agricultural insurance scheme. Right Honourable Speaker, last week, it's about exactly a week now, the farmers in Agongara Sub-County and Agongara Town Council suffered heavy losses when hailstorms destroyed their rice fields. Right now, Speaker, the destruction which was caused by the hailstorms, which devastated the farmers, was so heavy that one of the farmers collapsed and died on visiting his gardens. Right Honourable Speaker, most of these farmers had taken a commercial loan. They had taken commercial loans for these agricultural enterprises. Now, because of what they went through, they are right now stranded. They have no means of paying back these agricultural loans they had taken. Right Honourable Speaker, we have established that government has put in place an agricultural insurance scheme to bail out farmers who suffer from similar such losses. Basically, those who suffer from losses out of hailstorms, droughts, lightning, pests, and diseases, among others. Right Honourable Speaker, we have also established that at the moment, government has put in place annually 5 billion shillings to compensate farmers who suffer such losses, and this scheme is being coordinated by Agro Insurance Consortium. Right Honourable Speaker, this scheme is being operated in some few isolated cases, areas, of which Nagongara or Tororo is not part of it. Right Honourable Speaker, based on that, I have 3 prayers. One, we request the responsible ministry. The responsible ministry, basically Ministry of Agriculture, Ministry of Finance, to use the agricultural insurance scheme to compensate these Nagongara farmers who suffered heavy losses due to the devastation caused by the hailstorms, so as to enable them repay the loans. 2, we request the government, either through Ministry of Disaster, to provide the farmers with the planting materials, basically seeds for the next season, because they don't have anything they can use to plant. Then 3, we request the government to provide a rollout plan for this agricultural insurance scheme to all parts of the country, other than just the selected few areas where it is right now. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Government.
Mr. Speaker, we have sent a message and the ministers are coming. The Minister of Agriculture will be here shortly, and the Minister for Disaster Preparedness. On the part of Minister of Finance, we have taken note on the need to extend the insurance scheme as widely as possible, and we will follow up with that particular issue with the member and the community affected.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Next item.
Item number 3 on the order paper. Motion for adoption of the report of the ad hoc committee on the investigation into the condition of members and other suspects arrested in the run-up to by-election for Arua municipality.
Thank you very much, honorable members. Yesterday, this matter came for processing, and before it was processed, the honorable member for Chaka, Honorable Kafuzi, raised a procedural matter citing the terms of reference of this committee, and he stated that the terms of reference included 4 specific terms of reference. First one was whether indeed the suspects are in detention, where the suspect in detention were in Gulu. The second one, the physical condition of the detained suspects. And the third one, the charges preferred against the detainees. And the fourth one, whether the rights of the detained suspects were being respected. In his submission, he stated that some of these terms of reference and a report that would come from them have been overtaken by events. And then the other bad pit that remains that could have been considered, in his submission, he states that those ones are sub judice. I did not use my prerogative as Speaker to give a ruling there, and then I allowed the House to have a discussion on this matter so that we could share opinions on how we handle this matter. And I say today I would guide the House on how we proceed. I have consulted with the Speaker, I have consulted with the legal team in Parliament, and now I rule as follows. Terms of reference, whether indeed the suspect in detention were in Gulu. I think the House now knows. All of us know where they are. So that matter would be debating in vain, because it would have been productive if this report had been produced within 2 days of that activity, in which case it would have been clear that it would have guided the House. But now we know that 2 of them are outside the country, and the members who are affected are already, some of them came to the House, so we know where they are. We know that they've got bail. On terms of reference number 2, the physical condition of the detained person, we know in part, but we don't know what it was at that time. So the question is whether what it was at that time is still important today. What it was at that time, can it still be what we discuss on their condition as of today? That, in part, is also overtaken by events. But for record purposes, it might be something that you may want to look at. 3, the charges preferred against the detainees. That we already know. We know that the Honorable Chagulanyi was first charged in the military court, and then the charges were dropped, and then he was charged with treason in the Chief Magistrate's Court of Gulu. We now know that. We also know that the other honorable members were also charged, so we know the charges that have been preferred on them. So that aspect does not also require any debate. The fourth one, whether the rights of the detained suspects were being respected. And the submission from the Honorable Member for Chaka was to the extent that the issues of their rights and all those other things are sub judice. And his submission also was supported by the Land Deputy Attorney General, who went at length to try and illustrate to the House why those issues are sub judice. From the chair, I propose the question also on the issue of cause and effect, whether the two can be delinked and handled separately. But that was for purposes of provoking thought. At the conclusion of that debate, I made a specific request that in order to me to be sufficiently guided, I needed to look at the charge sheet, to look at the statement of offense, and also look at the particulars of the offense, which would give me the factual parameters, which would lead me to come to a fair conclusion as to whether the issue that is before us is sub judice or not. As I speak now, I have not received any copy of the charge sheet. I am therefore not able to determine whether the matter is sub judice or not based on the absence of the charge sheet. In the circumstance, therefore, it would be better that we carry out this debate on this report, the report be presented, and we see how we progress with the debate. But I'd like to state as follows as well to guide how we are going to handle this matter. Issues have been raised about composition of the committee. Issues have been raised about a member of the committee being counsel to the people who are affected, and therefore issues of whether his position as a member of the committee could have led to some issues of unfairness in terms of presentation of the report. I'd like to caution that, honorable members, we are members of parliament first. And if we have our assignments outside this house that affects things that will eventually come back to this house, we should have the courtesy to this house as colleagues to stand aside from whatever is going on here so that we have the independence to deal with the matter in a comprehensive way. But to be a member of parliament and be a member of a committee that is dealing with a particular matter and also be counsel in a matter that is outside but directly linked to the matter that that particular committee is investigating would not augur well. Would not augur well. It brings in these issues that were being raised yesterday, points of order, and it affects the way we deal with matters. So, honorable members, with this caution, we know that there are matters in court, so I will monitor the debates closely. The minute we start straying into matters that are before the court, I will pause the debate and proceed with other business. I therefore invite the chair of the committee to present this report. Honorable Atiko, there are issues. I don't think you would want to invite a debate on this matter, so I would prefer that you don't present the report. And the reason is simple, that you signed the report when it was not yet finished. So please, let's not go into that debate. So let's not go into that debate. Let's be serious about this matter. Let a member of the committee who does not have any issue get up and present this report, and we'll see how to proceed. Honorable Atiko, I have said I don't want to say any more. Please. And we'll debate this matter for 1 hour. And we need to agree also on how much time each member will take. 2 minutes or 3 minutes? 3. Each member will take 3 minutes. Yes, Chair?
Right Honourable Speaker, this is a duty I would rather not have undertaken, but the chairperson asked me this morning whether I could stand in for her because she's out of town. Right Honourable Speaker, the Banyankore believe that instead of growing some black hair like other people in some parts, some people grow red hair. Hey, the saying goes, Ngunkajirit kura. But the word of God also says,
which page
when duty calls or danger, be not never wanting there.
Which is part of the report that has this thing of hair? Can you refer to the page?
That was a preamble, Right Honourable Speaker. I stand here to present a report of the ad hoc committee on the plight of members of parliament and other suspects who were brutally arrested and detained by security forces in the run-up to the Arua municipality by-election on the 15th August 2018. Right Honourable Speaker, on the 15th of August, the Parliament of Uganda resolved to constitute an ad hoc committee to ascertain the condition of the members of Parliament and other people with whom they were arrested on the eve of the by-election in the Arua municipality. There had been attempts by the ministers to present a statement, and the honourable members did not agree. The Right Honourable Deputy Prime Minister and Leader of Government Business, I'm on page 3, informed the House that he was not aware of the whereabouts and conditions of the detained MPs, but later undertook to find out and report to the House. And while giving feedback, the Right Honourable Moses Sari denied reports that the suspects in detention had been tortured. He added that Honourable Chaguranyi Robert Sentam was in Gulu for medical treatment and that he was found with a gun and be arraigned before the General Court Martial in Gulu on Thursday 16th. So these raised concerns, and so the House decided to constitute an The ad hoc committee, you are all aware of the membership. Honorable Dorina Mori, woman MP, Amolata District, was the chairperson, as chairperson of Defense and Internal Affairs. Honorable Jova Kamateka was named, I am sure because of being chairperson Human Rights Committee, as I was not in the House. Honorable Rubega Medad Segona, MP Busiro East. Honorable Bariayanga Andrew Aja, MP Kabale Municipality. Honorable Atiku Bernard, MP Aivu County, who was not nominated in the House but later nominated by the Speaker. Then Honorable Sewanyana Alan, MP Machinde West. The terms of reference, the ad hoc committee set out to ascertain, 1, whether indeed the suspects in detention were in Gulu, and 2, the physical condition of the detained suspects, 3, the charges preferred against the detainees, and 4, whether the rights of the detained suspects were being respected. The committee traveled to Gulu on the morning of the 16th August to attend court and interacted indeed. I'll go to page 6. The committee arrived in Gulu and found Honorable, this is the terms of reference number 1, whether indeed the suspects were in detention in Gulu. The committee arrived and found Honorable Paul Mwiru, Honorable Karhanga Gerard, Honorable Wadri Cassiano, Honorable Mabike Michael, and about 26 other aspects at the holding facility for suspects at the Magistrates Court in Gulu, awaiting appearance before court. 5 of the suspects were women. Honorable Chaguranyi Robert Sentamu, however, and Honorable Zake Francis were not among them. The committee observes that there was gross later the committee met with the UPDF 4th Division. After meeting these suspects, the committee traveled to the barracks and met with the UPDF 4th Division Commander, Brigadier Kanyesije Emmanuel, and he initially denied holding Honorable Robert Chaguranyi Sentamu at his barracks, but the committee was told that Honorable Chaguranyi would be appearing before the court-martial in the afternoon. The committee observes the gross insincerity on the part of the military at the Gulu military barracks, considering that within a few hours of denying the presence of Honorable Chaguranyi Robert Sentamu in detention at the barracks, he was arraigned in the general court-martial sitting at the same barracks. At the time of the committee's visit in Gulu, the whereabouts of Honorable Zake were unknown to the police and military at the time, raising further questions about his fate, especially in light of the gory images of him that saturated on social media a few days earlier. The committee found this strange, considering that Honorable Zake Francis had been arrested by the military together with the other suspects. The committee later learned on the Sunday of 19th August 2018 that Honorable Zake had been found dumped in the vicinity of Rubaga Hospital. So the committee did not have any knowledge of the whereabouts of Honorable Zake until the 19th. However, the committee later attended the court session at the Magistrates Court in Gulu, where the suspects were charged with the offense of treason. The charge sheet included the names, The charge sheet included the names of Honorable Chaguranyi Robert Sentamu and Honorable Zake Francis as A5 and A6 respectively. So in other words, the committee confirmed that the bulk of the suspects were in Gulu except for Zake. Terms of reference number 2, the physical condition of the suspects. An interface with and observation of the detained MPs and other suspects revealed that they had been severely battered, with Honorable Karuhanga Gerard, Honorable Paul Mwiru, and Honorable Michael Mabike complaining of chest and back pain. Honorable Karuhanga Gerard was limping as a result of an injury to his knee. They stated that they had been viciously brutalized during and after arrest while in police custody in Arua, and during transportation between the place of arrest and detention at Arua CPS and later Bondo military barracks. They further informed the committee that the brutality and beating was administered by men dressed in uniforms of the Special Forces Command, SFC. Of the other 26 suspects jointly detained with the MPs, 5 were women. 2 of the women could neither sit nor stand as they groaned in excruciating pain on the floor of the suspects' holding facility at the Magistrates Court in Gulu. They could barely speak. One of the women, Asara Knight, was reportedly suffering blood hemorrhage from her private parts. Their condition was symptomatic of effects of brute force and savagery, either at arrest or during detention. One of the female suspects informed the committee that her baby of barely 16 months, with whom she was arrested, had been left behind in Arua. And one of the male suspects, Atiku Shaban, could neither walk nor sit and complained of extensive bodily pain arising out of severe beating while in detention. The committee is cognizant of the provisions of Article 24 and 44 of the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda, which prohibit torture, inhumane and degrading treatment. The Constitution of the Republic of Uganda is reinforced by the Prevention and Prohibition of Torture Act 2012 that criminalizes torture in any form. Uganda is a party to the UN Convention Against Torture and other cruel, inhumane and degrading treatment and punishment and other related matters. While the committee was flatly denied access to Honorable Kyagulanyi Robert Sentamu, the report did not mention here, that the committee returned to the barracks in the afternoon of that day, but they were denied access to Honorable Robert Kyagulanyi Sentamu. So while the committee was flatly denied access to Sentamu while in detention at Gulu Military Barracks, its member Honorable Rubega Medad Segona, who together with Honorable Basarirwa Asuman, who volunteered at that time to offer pro bono legal representation to Honorable Kyagulanyi, was later allowed access to him during the court-martial proceedings. This followed an earlier episode where the committee and other members of parliament were forcefully chased out of Gulu Military Barracks where they had earlier been allowed. This was on the orders of the division commander. The two honorable members informed the committee that Honorable Kyagulanyi Robert Sentamu was in a terrible state, unable to sit, stand or speak, with visible signs of cruel and brutal treatment, with his face swollen and a wound at his ear and the back of his head. The two honorable members were afforded time by the General Court Martial to interact with him, but there was no interaction as he could not speak. Despite his already dire situation, the committee was informed that Honorable Kyagulanyi was still handcuffed in detention at Gulu and was unconscious during the proceedings of the General Court Martial. During the committee's interface with Honorable Kyagulanyi in detention at Makindye on the 20th of August, he was ignorant of the charges that had been preferred against him at the General Court Martial in Gulu on Thursday 16th. And this is a testimony of his being in unconscious state during his first appearance at the General Court Martial. The terms of reference as to whether the rights of the detained suspects were being respected. Article 23(3)(b) of the Constitution requires a person restricted or detained to be produced in court as soon as possible, but in any case not later than 48 hours. In the case of all the 34 suspects in detention, this right was blatantly violated. The suspects were arrested on Monday 13th and only arraigned in court on Thursday 16th August, about 72 hours after arrest. Secondly, Article 23(5)(a) of the Constitution stipulates the rights of a person who is restricted or detained to have their next of kin informed as soon as practicable of the restriction and detention. The same article requires access to a next of kin, lawyer, and personal doctor to the person so detained. Again, this right was violated to the extent that no next of kin was allowed access to Honorable Kyagulanyi, and that both members of parliament as well as his family were being misled by both the police and the military as to the whereabouts of the detained member of parliament. Even when he was being arraigned before the court-martial, his wife, relatives, friends, and colleagues, members of parliament, were denied access both to the suspect and to the proceedings of the General Court-Martial. The suspect was denied access to his personal doctor even when his condition was confirmed to be worrying. Some of the suspects in detention whom the committee was able to interact with were in dire need of urgent medical attention, notably the 2 women and the 1 gentleman who could neither sit nor walk and were visibly in deep pain. Honorable Paul Mwiru, Honorable Karuhanga Gerard, and Honorable Michael Mabike, however, including these. However, they had not been accorded access to requisite medical help, save for diagnosis by the police surgeon, moreover, without medication. Honorable Medad Segona and the Honorable Basarirwa Asuman, who volunteered pro bono legal services, were allowed by the military to witness the proceedings of the General Court Martial, before whom Honorable Kyagulanyi was arraigned. And in his disquieting physical state was arraigned and pleaded with the General Court Martial for an opportunity to have private medical personnel urgently access him. They were reportedly assured that this would not happen immediately, but rather in the future while the suspect was at Machindi military detention facility. The committee notes that the deprivation of the suspects in their deplorable state of access to private specialized medical help of their private doctors predisposed the suspects to grave danger to their health and to possible death. From the time of their brutal arrest and detention on the 13th, Honorable Kyagulanyi, despite his deplorable state, was only able to access his private doctors on Monday 20th while at Makindye. The golden hour, this was completely oblivious to the cardinal medical concept of the golden hour. A decisive timing is in either saving one from death or averting devastating health consequences, especially after an injury or grievous bodily harm. The golden hour, also known as the golden time, refers to the period of time following a traumatic injury during which there is the highest likelihood that prompt medical and surgical treatment will prevent death. Article 23(2) of the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda provides that a person restricted or detained shall be kept in a place authorized by law. The committee observes that Honorable Kyagulanyi Ssentamu was detained in 2 military barracks, Gulu 4th Division and Bondo. Honorable Francis Zake's place of detention was never brought to the attention of the committee. The rest of the members of parliament were detained in Bondo military barracks and Arua and Gulu police stations. Gulu and Bondo military barracks are not gazetted detention facilities. Therefore, the detention of suspects in those places violated Article 23(2) of the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda. Article 28(1) of the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda provides that in the determination of a civil rights and obligations or any criminal charge, a person shall be entitled to a fair, speedy, and public hearing before an independent and impartial court or tribunal established by law. However, the proceedings of the General Court Martial, when Honorable Kyagulanyi Ssentamu was arraigned, was largely closed door, with only Honorable Medad Segona, Rubega Medad Segona, and Honorable Basarirwa Asuman allowed after lengthy pleading. Not even the suspect's wife and family members were allowed to witness the proceedings. The committee observes, therefore, that right to a public hearing in the case of Honorable Robert Kyagulanyi Ssentamu was denied. Article 28(2) of the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda provides that nothing in clause 1 of this article shall prevent the court or tribunal from excluding the press or the public from all or any proceedings before it for reasons of morality, public order, or national security, as may be necessary in a free and democratic society. The committee notes that the General Court Martial did not pronounce itself on barring the public from attending its proceedings. This decision was purely on the military at the barracks. Article 28(3)(b) provides that every person who is charged with a criminal offense shall be informed immediately in a language that the person understands of the nature of the offense. However, the unconscious state in which Honorable Robert Kyagulanyi Ssentamu was at the time he was arraigned at the General Court Martial in Gulu implies that he could not, and indeed did not, understand the charges read out to him. This the committee proved on 20th August during their visit to the Honorable Member, during which he was totally unaware of the charges read out to him on the 16th August. The committee was informed that Honorable Kyagulanyi's inability to speak due to his deplorable physical state was met with a threat of being charged for attempt of General Court Martial by the chairperson of the General Court Martial. The committee observes that Honorable Kyagulanyi's right to be informed of the charges preferred against him was therefore violated. The terms of reference regarding the charges preferred against the detainees. Honorable Kyagulanyi Ssentamu was arraigned before the General Court Martial sitting at the UPDF 4th Division Barracks in Gulu on the 16th of August at 4 p.m. and charged with 3 counts of unlawful possession of firearms contrary to Section 3 of the Firearms Act. He never responded to the charges considering his inability to understand the proceedings. He was remanded to Makindye Military Barracks until the 23rd of August. The Honorable Paul Mwiru, Honorable Karhanga Gerard and Kasiano Wadri, Honorable Mabike Michael and the rest of the suspects were arraigned before the Chief Magistrate's Court in Gulu, charged with treason and remanded to Gulu Central Prison till the 30th. The Honorable Zake Francis had not been arraigned in court and his whereabouts were unknown at the time. The attendant observations and recommendations. 1. The need to save the life of Honorable Kyagulanyi Ssentamu and other suspects in dire state. As earlier noted, the committee was ultimately allowed access to Honorable Kyagulanyi Ssentamu in detention at Makindye Military Barracks on Monday 20th. His physical condition remained worrying. His left lower body was paralyzed. He spoke and breathed with difficulty, often breaking to catch his breath. He sat with difficulty and could not move his body by himself. However, he was able to speak, albeit with difficulty. However, he was able to speak and narrated circumstances at his arrest in his hotel room in Arua, informing the committee. He informed the committee of the circumstances. Honorable Speaker. Page 15. The committee observed that Honorable Kyagulanyi Robert Ssentamu requires urgent specialized medical care, preferably abroad. The committee therefore recommends that that the Right Honorable Speaker of Parliament takes it upon herself to liaise with the President and other relevant authorities to enable Honorable Kyagulanyi Robert Ssentamu to be referred outside the Makindye Military Barracks for better medical management. Any meaningful trial of Honorable Kyagulanyi can only happen if his right to life and health is respected by the state. 2. The stature and dignity of Parliament. The treatment meted out unto members of Parliament by soldiers at the UPDF 4th Division headquarters in the afternoon of 16th August was inappropriate and an affront on the stature and dignity of Parliament. While the committee had fruitful interface with the 4th Division commander in the morning of that day, whereupon he promised members to access the detained MP and attend the proceedings of the General Court Martial as per Parliament's directive and whereabouts. And whereas members were allowed into the barracks upon return at 2 p.m. on that assurance, the manner in which members of Parliament were chased out of the barracks into the rain by over 30 soldiers under the command of Colonel Kanyoro was very inappropriate and degrading. While the military, page 15, while the military may have a high sense of entitlement in politics, given the recent history of our country, the actions of the soldiers towards the members of parliament is a testimony of the aggressive erosion of the stature and dignity of parliament. The committee observes that the image of the UPDF as a people's army, mandated to protect the lives, property, and dignity of the people of Uganda, which won them the love and support of all Ugandans, becoming the pride of the nation, seems to be at stake. The committee recommends that the UPDF respect and protect human and people's rights in the discharge of its constitutional mandate so as to maintain its reputation as a disciplined people's army. 3, the need for protection of the dignity of the common Ugandan. The agrarian principle of human dignity provides that every human person, regardless of creed, status, ethnicity, rank, moral standing, belief system, or political persuasion, is entitled to unalienable, dignified treatment no matter what they do or what happens to them. The law and public institutions exist to protect such dignities. The entire Chapter 4 of the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda is about protection and promotion of fundamental and other human rights and freedoms. The committee observes that the unleashing of brutality by the military and other agents of the state onto Ugandans, as exemplified in the run-up to the Arua municipality by-election, is an affront on rights and dignity of mankind. Article 20 of the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda recognizes that fundamental rights and freedoms of the individual are inherent and not granted by the state, and that the rights and freedoms of the individual and groups enshrined in Chapter 4 of the Constitution includes respect for human dignity and protection from inhuman treatment, life, health, and fair hearing shall be respected, upheld, and promoted by all organs and agencies of government and by all persons. The committee observes that the brutalization and maiming of suspects and journalists is not only a worrying sign of a slip back in the rule of law, but also dents the faith of citizens in Uganda in the government and erodes the sense of nationhood and casts the country in a bad light in the international community. The committee recommends that those individuals and state institutions that are complicit in the derogation of human rights and dignity should be punished. Justice must not only be done, but must be seen to be done. The role of the military in law enforcement. Article 209 of the Constitution stipulates the function of the defense forces as follows. Must I read this? To preserve and defend the sovereignty and territorial integrity of Uganda, to cooperate with the civilian authority in emergency situations and in cases of natural disasters, to foster harmony and understanding between the defense forces and civilians, and to engage in productive activities for the development of Uganda. The committee notes that in the case under consideration by the committee, the military may have assumed a role that is not theirs, as matters of the preservation of law and order are a preserve of the police as provided for under Article 212 of the Constitution of Uganda. The very act of security personnel beating up civilians contravened Article 24 of the Constitution on the respect of human dignity and protection from inhuman treatment, and Article 221 of the same Constitution, which provides that it shall be the duty, I quote, it shall be the duty of the Uganda People's Defense Forces and any other armed forces established in Uganda, the Uganda Police Force and any other police force, the Uganda Prison Service, all intelligence services, and the National Security Council to observe and respect human rights and freedoms in the performance of their functions, end of quote. The committee did not find any evidence that the situation in Arua was beyond the ability and capacity of the Uganda police force, and therefore finds that recourse to brutal force by the military against civilians not only disproportionate but also inhumane. The military and other errant state functionaries that are complicit in violating the law and eroding human rights and dignity should account for their actions. Conclusion. The committee is of the considered view that Parliament and government does whatever possible to ensure the evacuation of Honorable Robert Kyagulanyi Ssentamu from Makindye military barracks that clearly does not have the requisite capacity to afford the severely tortured and incapacitated Honorable Kyagulanyi the required medical expertise to reverse the damage occasioned upon his body and the Ugandan state security by the Ugandan state security officials. In addition, other suspects that remain in detention yet nursing horrendous body injuries, namely Honorable Paul Miru, Honorable Karuhanga, Honorable Mabike, and Ms. Asara Knight, Mr. Atiku Shaban should be immediately accorded an opportunity to receive appropriate specialized medical treatment. Specialized medical attention. Health and life are preconditions for a fair trial and should therefore be prioritized. For the transgressions by state security forces on human rights and dignity as witnessed by the killing of one Yasin Kauma in Arua on 13th August 2018, the grievous bodily harm occasioned unto members of parliament and other suspects as well as other individuals, the committee recommends expeditious justice and accountability if the rule of law is to be respected and the pattern of state orchestrated violence stemmed. I beg to submit, Right Honorable Speaker.
Thank you very much, Chair, for presenting this report. Honorable members, this is a report of the ad hoc committee, and as we agreed, we will have a debate. Each member will be taking 3 minutes, but at this point, if the two leaders of this House would like to make a comment right now, I would entertain a comment from the Right Honorable Prime Minister and the Leader of the Opposition. I would entertain that now, then I will roll out the debate. And this debate will take 1 hour.
Right Honorable Speaker, I want to thank Honorable Kamateka for having the courage to take and perform the role of the chairman of this committee, and therefore making Parliament be able to get the report that she has read. Right Honorable Speaker, I am glad that we are debating this report after the temperature has cooled down, emotions cooled down. It is true, as my sister Kaban is saying, in some cases they are still high, but I'm talking in comparative terms. Let me also say, Right Honorable Speaker, that we regret the loss of life that is associated with the incidents that started in Arua and reached a number of other areas. Some compatriots have lost their lives and others have been injured. This is a situation that we, the people of Uganda, should always go out of our way to make sure that such a situation does not come, because it is a very costly exercise in terms of human life, in terms of inconvenience injuries, in terms of business, and in terms of normal transaction of life. But the main point I want to make about this report, Right Honourable Speaker, is that this report was written in the heat of the occurrences that were taking place. And as a result, you see a lot of biased positions in this very report. Some of them definitely unsubstantiated. And as a result, that pierces holes in this important report. And therefore, when colleagues are discussing this report, these shortcomings of the report must be taken into account. The next point that I would like to really also point out is that although we formed a team to go, the team was not united, nor was it coherent, or did not converge on many issues. And that's why the report has had to be read by Honorable Kamateka, Right Honorable Speaker, if only Honorable Sech Kubo could be brought to order, I would complete my contribution. The next point that I want to make, the next point that I really want to make is that this report has significant weaknesses because the events occurred in Arua. In order to trace the real story, we needed the committee to visit the initial site of the problem, trace the story as it evolved, see the situation in Arua, and then come eventually Guru and other places, and come with a coherent conclusion after all the actors had been looked at, asked questions, and then would have a complete picture. Let me also add that I have not seen in this report a report about conversation or talking with the commander who was in charge of the situation in Arua. Therefore, there is a big gap in that report. I have not seen a report of this committee talking with His Excellency President Museveni, who was the first victim of being pelted with stones. Therefore, a report to come and give us a picture of what happened without the critical witnesses being brought on board, in my view, this does not give us a full picture. So in a nutshell, in fact, I better also make another point. The report talks of the military getting involved when in fact the police could have handled the situation. Right Honorable Speaker, the security system in this country is clear that whenever there is a challenge, any security organ is at liberty to call on another to be able to reinforce it so that that security challenge can be effectively handled. Therefore, given the security situation in Arua and the events that followed, including Kampala, it was right that the general security infrastructure, police, intelligence, and UPDF came in quickly to handle the situation, and I'm glad they came in quickly and stopped the violence that was beginning to come up. If this did not happen, Right Honorable Speaker, we could have had more problems. I'm glad. In fact, I want to definitely commend, without any doubt, the precision, effectiveness, and the prompt action of our security organs who were able to contain the situation and prevent chaos that could have come out of the problems. The last couple of comments I want to make, Mr. Speaker, has been on the treatment of our brothers who were involved. Right Honorable Speaker,
Honorable members,
Right Honorable Speaker, I'm very well informed and very well clarified.
Can we have a debate, please?
So, Right Honorable Speaker, let me just reiterate that in conclusion, government of the National Resistance Movement firmly believes and practices the rule of law, and we will adhere to that because that's why NRM is in power. Number two, I'm glad that this has been a test of the organs of the state. We have seen the judiciary perform its work and perform it well. We have seen security organs perform their work and do it very well. And by the way, we are seeing Parliament also rising to the occasion. Therefore, this in a nutshell is a big credit. It's a big credit because the institutions of government, judiciary, legislature, and executive are working well in spite of the challenges that are facing us. Government will leave no stone unturned in investigating and dealing in detail with all sorts of elements and other problems that accompany this situation to make sure that at the end of the day, the victims are properly handled and the people who committed the crime are properly dealt with. The critical point is enforcement of the rule of law. And because of the problems I have mentioned in the report, and because of the fact that there is no concrete evidence being produced on a number of issues being raised in the report, I personally propose that this August House rejects this report.
Leader of the opposition.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I would like to thank the committee, the ad hoc committee, very much for the work that they did. They were given terms of reference, and they actually stick to terms of reference. That was why they could not reach Arua. So, Honorable Prime Minister, Right Honorable Prime Minister, take note of that. Let me also start on a note of quoting Bible. When you go to Psalm 15, it talks about truthfulness. And even when something it has cost on you, you still have to be truthful. I want to thank Honorable Kamateka very, very much for standing and being truthful. Probably this is the time that we also see that a committee of human rights is best managed by opposition, not government. Well, it will have to go under review. I would like to say that on the 17th, I was in Makindi Barracks, where Honorable Chagulanyi was detained. I was chased with my team, including even media houses, like dogs. We didn't matter at all on the 17th in Makindi Barracks. That very same day, we went and found Honorable Zake in Rubaga Hospital. If you were a human being, you would not hold your tears. Real mark of torture. And I think those people were not meant to live. For those people who are human enough, I think will understand the plight of those two people, Honorable Zake and Honorable Chagulanyi. And for the Right Honorable Prime Minister to stand here and to say that this report be rejected, I really pity you. What a shame. I just would like to say I went to Gulu on 19th. I was in Gulu in prison. I saw Honorable Paul Miru and Honorable Karuanga. At least for Honorable Wadri and Honorable Mabike, I think they were a little okay. When I went to the women's side and saw the Honorable Councillor Asara, she cried for 15 minutes before she could speak to us. You will have your time for debate. For 15 minutes before we could speak to her. And there were marks tortured on her. And the right hand, which she used for protecting her head, was completely not all right, and the leg. Plus, blood coming out of her private part. You, honorable members of parliament, when we have to debate this, let us debate this with sincerity. Just the way this committee was chased away from Gulu military barracks, we were also chased away from Makindi military barracks. It is unfortunate that whenever His Excellency the President goes to support his candidates, then there are problems. Arua municipality, I was there for nomination. And people were excited. People were moving, running on the road in groups. There was no problem. Why was there a problem that when Mr. President was there, then there was problem? Let us all think about it. It is the presence of this special force command that brought problems. And probably, I would also say that because Honorable Wadri was actually in the upper side, that they wanted to disorganize that election. Yes, Honorable Councillor Sarah actually also testified that she was even tortured by our DPC of Gulu police station. This is very unfortunate.
Please wind up.
Right, Honorable Speaker, I would like to say that the report of the committee, even minus Arua, if it included Arua, it could have even gone better. Its completely right. And I also would like to say this parliament should again re-examine or review Human Rights Committee, because human rights abuse is the order of the day in this country, and moreover by government, and condoned by even the president of Uganda. Why should we do this? I also would like to say, for those who think that the two members of parliament plus others were just comedians, I saw this. Well, we say, to God be the glory. We are all alive here. As long as we are alive, we should have human hearts. If our hearts are like hearts of stones, then tomorrow you do not know that you are going to meet with your colleague. We are here not enemies. We are here opponents, but we are here to protect each other. And all of us are as members of parliament. When one is suffering, all of us must be suffering. But I am so surprised that even the chairperson of the ad hoc committee refused to sign the report. Chairperson of ad hoc committee did not agree with the report. She should have come out with her minority report if she did not what? Just an individual. I would like to thank all of you very much. I've spoken. If I've hurt you, I have hurt you for the truth and nothing else but the truth. Go, for those who are Muslims, go and consult your Quran. For those who are Christians, go and read your Bible. And let us always be truthful on our friends. Thank you.
There was a procedural point from General Tumuine. Has it been overtaken by events? You had a procedural matter? He's not standing up.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker.
Please.
Right Honorable Speaker, I had raised to respond
General.
Right Honorable Speaker.
General, you are raised on a point of procedure. You are raised on a point of procedure.
Procedure, sir, which I had raised for, was overtaken by events.
If it was overtaken by events, then we just leave it.
And I am now raising on a point of order. Point of order.
Point of order.
Point of order, Right Honorable Speaker. The point of order. Order.
Point of order.
Yes, Right Honorable Speaker. We are here in a parliament where debate is supposed to be had in order. A report has been read in this house. The background, the content, the membership, the outcome of the report raises issues, and I want to give
Honorable,
a preamble to my point of order.
On a point of order, please.
Yes. The point of order I'm raising, Right Honorable Speaker, If I could be allowed.
Please raise the point of order.
The point of order I'm raising is that when you I have the floor. I have the floor. I have the floor, Right Honorable Speaker. Protect me. Protect me, Right Honorable Speaker.
Please raise the point of order.
How can I raise it when I am not able? Can she sit down? I have been in this parliament. I know the procedure of this house. The point of order I'm raising is that in this house, we are supposed to debate with discipline so that we can hear each other. Is it in order for some members, Honorable Sechikubo as being the first, to use his dirty hands on me, Honorable Odongo To, to raise and disrupt Parliament without proper discipline, Honorable members to raise when somebody has raised on a point of order without allowing the Speaker to rule like she was doing, the leader of opposition. Is this Parliament in order?
Honorable members, in whatever we do, we need to maintain the dignity of this house. In whatever we do, we need to maintain the dignity of this. We can disagree, but you can disagree on some agreeable way. But if the disagreement now becomes a source of concern itself, the way the disagreement is articulated becomes a problem, then it is a problem. We should respect each other. Because sometimes the opinion you hold about yourself may be very high, but you give a lot of difficulty to people who try to respect you to continue respecting you. We don't want to suffer respecting people. We want to respect people because they deserve respect. The Honorable, because I was listening, I'd allowed the Right Honorable Prime Minister to speak first, and I'd allowed the Leader of the Opposition to follow with her speech. I overruled all procedural matters that were being raised. General Tumuine rose on a point of procedure. The Honorable Angelina Osege raised on a point of procedure, and she's there, and I was going to allow her after General Tumuine to raise a point of procedure, so that we do not disrupt the flow of the ideas of the leaders who are addressing the House. And when the Honorable Angelina Osege rose on a point of procedure, I told her, wait, because let them finish. I had not witnessed a dangerous procedural situation that would disrupt the flow of this House. That's why I opposed those points of procedure. I try my best to guide this House to the best of my abilities. And if my abilities are not satisfactory to you, I cannot apologize to you, because it might be that your level of expectation is beyond human. You expect the Lord Almighty, God or Allah, to be the one presiding here, and I am not. And if there are those shortcomings, please take me as a human being, and even if I don't deserve your respect, which I don't seek for and I don't need, but at least let's accord this House some respect. Since of course, the conduct of some of these things. But you see, one time there was a judge that every time was on issues of contempt. You say something, he sent you in for contempt. Then the senior judge came to him and said, you see, great judges don't have contempt. Just like great speakers don't have contempt. They ignore.
Because some of the things, you do not even have to dignify them with a response. You ignore them because that's what they deserve. Angelina?
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, I had earlier risen on a point of procedure. And my issue was, to me it appeared the Prime Minister was setting his own question. He was setting his own terms of reference. Right Honourable Speaker, if this was an exam, he would have failed flat. Because the 4 points of reference that was given by this House, he did not refer to any one of them. But he just arose to defend what, in my opinion, is undefendable. Right Honourable Speaker, what I would expect a leader in the position of the Prime Minister to say to this House and to Uganda is to strike a reconciliatory tone and probably apologize for those who lost their loved ones and to those who are harmed bodily. But not to come and defend a situation where all the evidence is pointing to what has been said in the report. Right Honourable Speaker, denial of torture, when even government has cleared the honourable members to go for further treatment abroad. Tell me what would be the reason for them going to seek further medical attention if they were not tortured. They were participating in an election, they were not sick, they did not have wounds on their body, but they happen to be who they are, what they are today. And we are here denying that they were not tortured. It's a shame. Right Honourable Speaker.
Are you still on procedure?
Yes. Is it procedurally right? Is it procedurally right for the Prime Minister of the Republic of Uganda, a medical doctor who Ugandans have trusted and seemingly love, and who we expect to cause a balanced situation in this country, to stand on this floor and deny a potentially explosive situation by continuing to deny the facts on the ground instead of calling all of us to say, yes, it happened, it was wrong, can we reconcile and correct the position? Was it procedurally correct? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, honourable members. You see, this is the right time to deal with that procedural issue. Now, honourable members, at the beginning of guiding this particular debate on this subject, I said the terms of reference should guide us on what we are going to do. And I actually indicated to you in my ruling that some aspect of the point of the terms of reference have been overtaken by events. For example, the charges that are against the people, for example, whether they were in detention in Gulu, those ones have been overtaken by events. But in my ruling, I say I needed guidance. So I never got the guidance, so I allowed this House to proceed with the debate. The Prime Minister was speaking about the report. And I did not hear him referring to anything outside the report. Could it therefore be possible that the committee went beyond the terms of reference? Is it possible? And he particularly raised the issue of the evidence in Arua. I've read the report, and I want to draw your attention to what probably the Prime Minister was referring to. On page 18, paragraph 2, or thereabout, page 18. The committee did not find any evidence that the situation in Arua was beyond the ability and capacity of the Uganda police force, and therefore finds the recourse to brute force by the military against civilians not only disproportionate but also inhumane. Now, Now, did they go to Arua? Because now, by the time you are saying the committee did not find evidence that the situation in Arua, you see, these are the things that you need to talk about. Now, when they went and they start talking about visiting women in prison, was that part of the terms of reference? If it was not, did they exceed the mandate which they had been given to go there? I think that's the point that the Prime Minister was raising. Now, it's not for me to say, but whatever is in the report is now subject to debate because the report has invited it. The terms of reference were 4. Usually where the person giving the instruction intends that the committee should go and do on-spot and take on-spot decisions about what else they can look at. In law, we normally put a paragraph called the incidental clause, which in summary would say to do other things necessary to fulfill the general purpose of this inquiry. But that is not in this particular terms of reference. So the committee therefore did not have the latitude to go beyond the terms of reference and deal with matters outside the terms of reference. That's the point the Prime Minister was making. So was he proceeding properly? I think so. Let's proceed again. Can we proceed with it? Yes. Procedure.
Right Honourable Speaker, you may recall that yesterday when I took the floor, I pointed out that having internalized the report and having seen the charge sheet, in particular the statement of offense and the particulars of offense, we took the opinion that it will be difficult during debating this report to sever what is sub judice and what is not.
Point of order. Microphone.
Honorable colleagues, I already see somebody saying I'm NRM, but this is beyond NRM. My point of order is that, Right Honorable Speaker, the Assistant
Deputy
or Deputy Attorney General
Let the record show that the member.
Can I bring my point?
The Deputy Attorney General.
The point of order is that whether he's deputy, whether he's assistant, but there's somebody who is ahead of him. Now, Right Honorable Speaker, the Deputy Attorney General misguided this House. He gave a legal opinion in which we lost the 7-year extension. Right Honorable Speaker, that loss has caused a lot of psychological, physical torture to members of this House. Right Honorable Speaker is the Deputy Attorney General in order to give legal opinion regarding matters of this House anymore.
Thank you. Thank you. Order. Honorable members. The issue order. The issue before this parliament this afternoon, which is being debated, is the report of the ad hoc committee of parliament. I have looked at this report. I have not found anywhere where the issue of 7 years was mentioned. And the rules of this House, honorable member, is very strict on relevance. So that aspect of your point of order puts you out of order. But on the second aspect of your point of order, whether the Attorney General is still competent to give any opinion. Again, you carried out a constitutional amendment. There was another one yesterday which the Land Attorney General withdrew. But none of them have affected Article 119 and 119A of the Constitution. They remain in force. So for as long as those provisions are enforced in the Constitution, he can competently give a legal opinion. Now, on the other aspect, which I like the Attorney General to be careful about, is to come back here and start raising issues of the charge sheet. I requested the Land Deputy Attorney General yesterday that he should avail me a copy of this charge sheet so that I could look at it and it guides me in my ruling on a matter that I needed to rule on today. The Land Attorney General, Deputy Attorney General, did not. Even now, he has not. Land Attorney General, please, do not rely on a document that only you knows about and you don't want anybody else to know about. Please proceed. Proceed with your point.
Right Honorable Speaker, I will withdraw any reference to the charge sheet, but I will restrict myself to the contents of the report and what has been...
Are you going to debate? Or you rose on something else?
I'm still raising on a point of procedure.
No. If you want to debate, I'll give you a time to debate this report. But if you want to raise a procedural point, raise a procedural point, because that's on the basis on which I got you to speak. Bulisa. 3 minutes. Bulisa.
Thank you so much, Right Honorable Speaker. It is increasingly becoming abundantly clear that this country is long overdue for national dialogue and reconciliation. Right Honorable Speaker, I say this because I lost 4 years of my school because of violence in our politics. And I was between Okema and Onyango in my second year of the university when they collapsed dead. And I almost lost my guilty speaker, who is now a very useful person in this country. Honorable Speaker, yesterday I almost requested that we don't discuss this report in the plenary, that we should have had a committee of the whole House, because the matters therein do not need to be discussed in a partisan manner of a government side against the opposition. The matter of parliamentary privileges and matters of parliamentary immunity and the mandate of parliament and how much security and military is not a matter for just cameras and public gallery to look at before we can have an in-house. Because where we have reached, we have deteriorated the level that it's increasingly becoming difficult to give hope to the citizens that this parliament is a house of dialogue and indeed the speaker, as you put yesterday, the debate of last resort. I want to still plead and pray, and I want to thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, for really raising to the occasion and giving hope to citizens that the intentions of sub judice was never to stop executive from functioning and was never in public policy litigation and in peace and stability, was never intended to make parliament to stop operating because there is sub judice. Right Honorable Speaker, is it therefore possible that even after losing 2 weeks plus, that the leader of government business, that government find space in their busy schedule and their time to bring to parliament what so far since this matter happened, what efforts is government doing to correct this very ugly situation which is not helping the country, which wants to become a middle income in terms of.
Thank you. Mbale Municipality.
National dialogue. For me, I'm not jumping desks.
Order.
Can I make a request?
Mbale Municipality. Let's follow time, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to thank Honorable Jovia Kamateka, who volunteered to present a report. And I want to thank her because one time she was my chairperson of the Committee of Human Rights, that at times when she travels to the Gambia, she gets embarrassed to defend the undefendable. Mr. Speaker and honorable members, the issue of human rights is a very touchy issue. And Uganda is a member of the AU, where there's a Commission for Human Rights. And Uganda is a member of the United Nations, where the issue of human rights ranks very high. Mr. Speaker, at all international conferences, the issue of human rights comes up and Uganda is always abused. You'll never attend an international conference where the issue of human rights doesn't come in Uganda. Walk to rock, people were beaten. On the issue who's now of Arua, people are beaten and we are looking on, and we come here and tell Ugandans who have watched, and the whole world has watched what took place in Arua, what took place in Kiseka Market down here. The whole world saw. And you saw demonstrations all over the whole world. And this has affected the name of this country. Mr. Speaker, tourists are no longer coming to this country. Should we hide our faces to say that there's no trouble in this country? We're deceiving ourselves. We're embarrassed. We're spoiling the name of this great country. Why can't we address these issues that touch everybody? That we come up and resolve the issues. We saw our colleagues beaten. They came limping. And we come here and said there was nothing that happened. Are we being sincere? We should address these issues and find a solution. We should admit what happened. I've seen the entourage of the president. A long convoy. I expected if somebody threw a stone at that vehicle, the people behind could have stopped and apprehended that person who fled the store.
Moyo district.
Thank you. Right Honorable Speaker and colleagues, I want to thank the committee for their report, but I have some queries and some points of clarification. Right Honorable Speaker, it so happens that I too visited the colleagues who were detained and the prisoners at Gulu Central Police shortly after the leader of opposition has visited them. The first point I want this committee to clarify, the report is not indicating the right numbers of the people detained. The report is saying there were 4 members of parliament and 26 others. I want to put this record right. There were not 30 people, Right Honorable Speaker. There were 32. For that matter, that number in the report is questionable. The second point in the report is the number of female prisoners. The report indicated that there are 5. I want to put the record clear. Yes, there were 4. So I don't know where they got the 5th person. That questions the integrity of that report. The report indicated 5 female prisoners, but there were 4. This is on record, and the leader of opposition is agreeing with me. Colleagues and Right Honorable Speaker, when a committee is given assignment, it is better to go and find facts on the ground and put what is right on the paper. The second query on the report, the third query, is the physical condition of the detained suspects. Right Honorable Speaker, one of the terms of reference is for them to ascertain the conditions of the detained suspects. It so happened that I was also there. Right Honorable Speaker, I give you a copy of the conditions. And it is unethical for me.
Thank you. Bujenje.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I condemn violence. I want to thank Honorable Kamateka for the report. However, I find this report wanting. The report mentions that members of parliament were tortured. And they specifically mentioned Honorable Chagulanyi and Honorable Zaki. But they don't give us reasons as to why they were tortured. And they also don't mention what happened or why other members of parliament were not tortured. For example, Honorable Kasiano Wadri was arrested with a gun. And he's here, he cannot deny that.
Point of
but
order.
Why is it that?
Point of order.
Thank you so much, Right Honorable Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, we consider ourselves national leaders. And we are just trying to strike a tone that is commensurate with who we are. It's unfortunate my honorable colleague, in his expression, seems to think for any reason a Ugandan has to be tortured. Is he in order to stand on this floor and say that there should be a justification for torture for any Ugandan? When we have a law against torture, yes, somebody can be arraigned in court. Why would we advocate for torturing a human being? Is he in order, Right Honorable Speaker?
When you use the word torture, you call upon an assessment of your statement based on international conventions, the constitution of this country, and other laws that relate to that subject. When you mention that word, then now you have to be careful how you proceed with it, because it is expressly prohibited. Anything that you can call torture is prohibited. It is one of those things you cannot derogate from. So, but if you want to use another word in its place, maybe. But the word torture, honorable member, we should use it carefully.
I started by condemning torture. Maybe the right word to use would be, why is it that some members were subdued to beatings? Were they trying to resist arrest or otherwise? My other issue as far as the report is concerned is that, of course, the report has been overtaken by events. It is outdated. We all know that our colleagues, some of them are here, they are no longer incarcerated, some are abroad for medical attention. We are also aware from the report that one member presided as an investigating officer, a prosecutor, and a judge in his own cause. Therefore, he could not have signed on this report. We are also aware that before the report was concluded, one member, whom Honorable Speaker has already mentioned here, Honorable Bernard Atiku, had signed the report. Had signed the report, yes, before the report had been concluded. Therefore, there is no way we can entertain this report in this House. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Bukoli, then I come this side.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, I stand here to add my voice on condemning violence and any form of violence, Right Honorable Speaker. Violence, whether it is from opposition, whether it is from NRM, is very dangerous, Right Honorable Speaker, to this country. Right Honorable Speaker, I have been a victim of violence. Actually, I did not know that I can run. I did not know that talent of being an athlete until I experienced violence. I did not know that potential in me that I can run so fast, I can do this. It is the day that violence was unleashed on me that I ran to my shock and I discovered that I'm actually a very strong athlete. Right Honorable Speaker, let us all stand as a country, as a parliament of this nation, and condemn any form of violence, because violence breeds violence. When you participate in violence today, it is like giving birth. You will have it against you in future, even you who began it. So all of us should desist, avoid, and restrain from being in any form of violence, whether in elections, whether what type of violence. We should all restrain ourselves. I have been a victim, I have suffered violence, and I stand to condemn it in the strongest term in this country. I thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Kawempe?
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, allow me also to thank the committee for presenting a good report. Mr. Speaker, we should ask ourselves a series of questions as leaders, because all of us are stakeholders of our nation, and we have different roles to play. Mr. Speaker, sir, inasmuch as we condemn violence of any nature, because this must be very clear, I don't think there is any leader who can condone violence. But $1 million question is, we are discussing issues of national concern, where many Ugandans have been tortured. Not talking about only members of parliament, but many Ugandans have been tortured under the hands of our security organs. Mr. Speaker, sir, when we hear some of our colleagues playing it down that maybe there was no torture, it's like we feel like shedding tears. Mr. Speaker, sir, we want to thank you. You visited our colleagues and you saw the condition in which they are. Mr. Speaker, sir, as we talk now, Honorable Zake is in intensive care in Manipur Hospital, India. So the fact remains that members were tortured. And I want to appeal to this government, because when NRM came into power, they promised fundamental change. And the reason as to why many Ugandans supported NRM or NRA by then.
Thank you. Member for Agago District.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to say something about the report presented by the ad hoc committee, as I thank them very much for the good report. Mr. Speaker, violence, torture, and suppression of Ugandans, whether members of parliament or non-members of parliament, as you earlier ruled, Mr. Speaker, is unconstitutional. And therefore, Mr. Speaker, what happened to Ugandans, including members of parliament, that were in cameras when the whole world was able to see, has really exposed Uganda, and it has put Uganda on another scale altogether, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this is unacceptable, and government must come out and explain. And I think no amount of explanation can really repair the level of damage that was done in the aftermath of the Arua municipality elections. Shame. It was a very, very big shame on Uganda. And therefore, Mr. Speaker, I want to believe that what government has done on Ugandans, including members of parliament, by the level of torture that was exerted on Ugandans, I believe this is an act of inciting Ugandans against its own peace that was built for so many years. So therefore, Mr. Speaker, I want to be counted on behalf of the people of Agago that I join my colleagues in condemning it, and I do support the report that was presented by this committee, and we thank them very, very much for making it to the floor of this parliament. Thank you very much.
Kinkizi East.
Right, Honorable Speaker, and I also want to thank the committee for the report. But let's also note that the report was written in the heat of the moment, and when you read it, I can summarize it as defective. Yes. For instance, the report casually refers to torture, yet torture is defined in the law. And I invite members to read the definition of torture in the law which we passed. When you say, for instance, that one of the women suspects was bleeding, did you establish that the bleeding was because of injury? It could be a physiological condition causing bleeding, yes. When you say the situation in Neguru, in Arua, never warranted the involvement of the army, did you go there? When you say, yes, yes. When you say, Honorable Zake.
Point of order. Microphone, press it once.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, the lady who was bleeding, the Honourable Councillor, 90, before being arrested, she was very healthy. The time she was arrested, she was manhandled by the security personnel from Arua. She was brought to Gulu Central Police Stations, and by the time she was arrested, she was very healthy, she was not bleeding. And she started bleeding after being tortured properly by the security personnel. Right Honourable Speaker, is Honourable Doctor, who is a well-qualified doctor, who knows how to assess the situations of patients in order to come up with that statement that he doesn't know what might have caused the bleeding of the Honourable Naiti, the Honourable Councillor. Is he in order?
Honourable members. I don't know how factual in terms of eyewitness account the honourable member who raised the point of order rises. I'd like to confirm from him that he was there, he witnessed the arrest, he witnessed the torture, and he was there when she was being transported to Gulu. He witnessed the transportation so that I can see. Because otherwise, I'm going to engage on ruling on speculative facts.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, I raised the point of order because I was in Arua. I witnessed how our colleagues were being tortured.
So we are talking about this woman.
Yes. I was in Arua. I witnessed how ladies, including that lady, Honorable Azara Naiti, she was being carried by men and thrown into the police truck. I was there personally in Arua. Therefore, Right Honourable Speaker, I was there and I witnessed how these people were being tortured.
Honourable members, the honourable member by his own testimony, he witnessed how the lady was picked and thrown into a car. That is what he saw. Or that, from his own evidence, I am failing to construe what he alleges happened in terms of torture. What the Honourable Jeromunsi was saying is also interrogating his thoughts to find out what is reasonable and what may not be reasonable in the circumstances. Please. Microphone.
Right Honourable Speaker, I thank you for your wise ruling, but also to add that the situation Okay.
Yeah.
Right Honourable Speaker, let me also say that if the situation Honourable Ranya is expressing is true in a woman of reproductive age, that can make you go into monthly periods, the stress. Correct. Yes. So, and I'm saying this as a trained medical doctor.
Point of order.
Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker. We all know that the Honourable Baryomunsi is a medical doctor. You all saw this woman even in the courtroom in Arua, how she could not stand, how she could not walk.
In Arua?
Is it in Guru? I beg your pardon, in Guru. Some of us were witnesses there because we were there, we had been sent by this parliament. Is it in order for the Honourable Minister to insinuate that a woman should be denied justice just because she has the natural duty of bearing children, and out of this natural duty, she may have menstrual periods? Does having menstrual periods mean that one cannot be tortured and bleed as a result of that torture? Is the Honourable Minister in order?
I'm not able to come to the same conclusion you have come to, based on what the Minister said.
Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker. Let me go to my second point.
Procedure, Right Honourable Speaker.
Honourable members, I gave this debate 1 hour. And that 1 hour passed 15 minutes ago.
Procedure, Right Honourable Speaker.
If you are reluctant to do proper debate and you are raising procedure and you are raising procedure and you are raising order even when they are unnecessary, you are spending the time we should use to debate this report. And I'm not going to enlarge the time. I've already given 15 more minutes to this report. Please.
Right Honourable Speaker, I'm raising on the point of procedure, seeking your indulgence.
Procedure.
Thank you so much, Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, Parliament has already suffered. This country image has already suffered. I want to seek your indulgence. Some of these matters, as you rightly said, have been overtaken by events. Is it possible for us to debate in a way of providing a healing, a way forward, repairing our image, giving the world hope that there is still a parliament which can help this country move on? But if we are going to debate in a polarized manner, Right Honorable Speaker, this parliament will actually look more ugly. Can I seek your indulgence as the head of this institution that when we are debating, we debate in a direction like I used to see before in parliament, the leader of government business, the leader of opposition would sit and do not have to put the speaker on spot to deal with your extremes, with your polarization, with partisan ways, when we are dealing with the matter of the common good. Right Honorable Speaker, I want to seek your indulgence. Can you guide that members try to give way forward, not defending any extreme side? Right Honorable Speaker, that is my prayer, sir.
The Honorable Member for Bulisa did not proceed properly. He rose on procedure and presented a debate he presented earlier to remind the House that how we should proceed. But he himself is not proceeding properly. He didn't proceed. But the point is made. Please wind up.
The integrity of the report, which I insist, yes. My next point, Right Honorable Speaker, is that as a medical doctor, I would be the last person to underrate somebody's medical condition. But at the same time, I would be the last person to allow that somebody should use his medical condition to play politics. And I want to state here that the two members of parliament have been examined by medical specialists from government, and they have been found to have no significant injury that warrants...
Point of order.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I am being constrained to put my honorable colleague, the Honorable Minister, on point of order. Mr. Speaker, the Honorable Minister made a very serious statement on this floor of Parliament, which I want to request on your guidance to be expunged from the records of this Parliament. When he was insinuating during his first point, when he was trying to give us his first issue, about the medical condition of a woman, a bleeding woman, this suspect, 90, when he was trying to insinuate, Mr. Speaker, that this woman must have been bleeding because she was undergoing her menstrual period. And Mr. Speaker, he was insinuating this menstrual period could not make her stand in court. Mr. Speaker, I was in court myself. I wonder whether the menstruation period takes a period of 2 to 3 weeks constantly. This woman was in court, I was in court, and she mentioned she was bleeding. Mr. Speaker, is it in order to proceed before explaining this matter? Before explaining it, and then he goes ahead to say somebody uses it for political reasons. Mr. Speaker, I beg your guidance, and please, is he in order to proceed before he clarifies on this matter? Is he in order?
I've ruled on that matter already.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. I was making a point that the two colleagues of ours, Honorable Zake and Honorable Chaguranyi, and yesterday we spoke to the press, that they have been examined by government medical specialists. And the preliminary report indicates that they don't have any significant injury that warrants specialized treatment both here locally and outside. And I am saying this as a doctor. Yes. I am saying this. No.
Point of order.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, I had restrained myself following your guidance about rising on any matter. But Right Honourable Speaker, we are aware that the members of Parliament were referred abroad for specialized treatment from a hospital, Rubaga. And it's a fact where even in Rubaga, and my colleagues here can testify, they are competent doctors. Dr. Sechitoleko, who is the head of the Rubaga hospital, indeed examined with his team, and they recommended that these honorable members of Parliament be referred abroad for specialized medical treatment. Is the Honorable Minister and the former crusader of human rights in order to dance on the graves of the dead and cast his card as a medical doctor, to run down those of his colleagues, the credentials of his colleagues, and upon which even the government doctors, the government team that went to examine them in Kirudu also allowed them to proceed for further treatment. Is the Honorable Minister therefore in order to come and start putting forward a different report from the report from Rubaga as well as Kirudu? Is he in order to cynically comment on matters that have life and death, and he's here taking it casually? Is he in order, Honorable Speaker?
Honorable members, you know, when you bring factual things, I don't want to rely on my own knowledge of what I was told by doctors, both Dr. Sekitoleko and Dr. Anena, who I met in the room with the Honorable Zake. I don't want that to be another area of debate. So because I was also there. I've also seen the report, the letter that was written to the clerk by Dr. Sekitoleko. I've seen it. So please let's not go into territories that open things that we don't need to start debating here. I beg of you. I really beg of you. But honorable members, I had allowed this debate knowing that terms of reference 1, whether indeed the suspects in detention were in Gulu, has been overtaken by events. Number 3, the charges preferred against the detainees has also been overtaken by events. So I was hoping that the balance of what we should be debating was also the physical condition of the detained suspect. We know a bit of it, and since that time, almost 3 weeks ago, things have changed so much that if we are to discuss it on the basis of what was 3 weeks ago, it might not be we might be discussing irrelevant subjects because things have since changed in terms of their health. So I said we can debate that in a guided way. On the third aspect, on the last aspect, whether the rights of the detained suspects were being respected. I thought were being respected. The report is here. I thought that is the area we would be debating so that we have the things out. And I allowed this debate for that purpose. But now we are debating by point of order, point of procedure, and we are not prepared to listen to each other. The time that I had assigned for this debate was 1 hour. Now it is 1.5 hours. I'm going to now pause this debate here, and we process the recommendations of the committee, and we finalize this matter. Okay? Because that's where we are. Can we deal with this? Yes, Chair?
Right Honourable Speaker, I would like to thank you and the House for allowing debate on these issues. At least finally we have debated this report and have put it behind us. Lack of debating it was like was creating suspicion in amongst the members and then amongst members of the public. So we are all happy that it has been debated. Right Honourable Speaker, I would like on my behalf and on behalf of members of the ad hoc committee to state in no condition and no I would like to state in the strongest terms that we condemn the act of members of the public pelting stones at the convoy of His Excellency the President while in Arua. We do not want anyone to think that because of what appears in this report that we condone that action. Right Honourable Speaker? Right Honourable Speaker, I'd like to clarify on the numbers of the suspects. Right Honourable Speaker, there were 26 plus the members of Parliament, which brings it to 32. So the 26 refers to all others other than the members of Parliament. The condition of the suspects was alluded to, most especially this lady, the councillor. Right Honourable Speaker, for us, we were charged to go and observe and come and report. And we talked to the lady, and she's the one who revealed her medical condition. You all are aware that pain sometimes makes people say even those things they would otherwise not say. She told us in the hope that she would have assistance. So she told us how she was actually passing blood in her urine and in her stool. We were not doctors and we are not supposed to present a medical report. And so, Right Honourable Speaker, it was within our mandate to state the condition of the suspect, especially after talking to them. Right Honourable Speaker, there was also an issue as to our visiting people in prisons. We did not visit anyone in prisons other than Honourable Chaguranyi in Machinde, whom we had not been able to see. For all these other suspects, we found them in the holding cells with and Right Honourable Speaker, they were together with the members of Parliament. So it is not that we went out of the way to look for them, but in any case, they were Ugandans. And our mandate says, if you go back to the four mandate, it is suspects, suspects, suspects. We were not supposed to see only members of Parliament. With those few remarks, Right Honourable Speaker, I want to thank you once again for allowing debate on this matter.
Thank you, honourable members.
And also, Right Honourable Speaker, we were not supposed to find out why these people were tortured. Our duty was to find out the condition in which they were and come and report to you. So it is up to the Honourable Minister to report as to how they were tortured and why they were tortured. I thank you.
Honourable members, having gone through this report together with you, the key recommendations that remain are two. The rest of the recommendations of members, the affected members being taken out for further management, that one is they're already out. So we don't have to take a decision on that. And others, that Parliament takes, the Speaker takes upon herself to liaise with the President. That one has been done. I think we have seen the correspondences, and the Speaker will be able to give us the extent of their discussions. So the two outstanding recommendations that I like to draw your attention to, one on page 17 and the other one on page 18. Those are the ones that and actually they are part of what was also contained in the Speaker's letter. So the recommendation that is outstanding that I need to bring your attention to is that the committee recommends that those individuals and state institutions that are complicit in the derogation of human rights and dignity should be punished. Justice should not only be done, but must be seen to be done. And then the second one, which is almost the same, is that the military and other errant state functionaries that are complicit in violating the law and eroding human rights and dignity should account for their actions. Those are the key recommendations that have come out of this. And honorable members, those recommendations, I'll present them to you and then we see how to proceed. Yes?
Right Honourable Speaker, in light of the fact that the salient recommendations have been overtaken by events, and those which seem to be remaining are still subject to investigations, can we express ourselves on this report other than noting it? My guidance would be that we don't adopt the report because substantially everything in the report has been rebutted. The only aspects that are still outstanding are an investigation. We can only note the contents of the report and allow the law to take its course. I beg to move.
Point of order.
Mr. Speaker, I thought the purpose of every investigation, especially where you're investigating crime, the tail end is to punish the culprit. It cannot be the recommendation of this Parliament that you go and punish without investigating. With the Deputy Attorney General, and I wish the Honourable Tumwine would be exemplary to me by sticking to the rules when you want to speak. Mr. Speaker, I thought the purpose of every investigation ends with a remedy. If you are investigating a person complicit in torture, which is a crime, the first thing is to punish, either by taking disciplinary action or by, if I were Honorable Kutan, I would listen, then I would comment. The first thing after every investigation is to punish either by disciplining or prosecution. Is the Honorable Kutana therefore in order to say, one, that we express ourselves other than noting, and then in the end he says we do not adopt the report? Thank you.
Honorable members, the procedure of this House is that when we have a debate of this nature, we conclude it. And we conclude it any way we desire. The Honorable Land Deputy Attorney General is proposing one way of concluding this debate. So should I rule him out of order? No. He has just proposed that the House notes, instead of adopting the report, that the House can reject his proposal. So I don't have to rule him out of order. He has simply made a proposal. Yes?
Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, other than the two resolutions to be processed, in view of the fact that members who have been on the floor have alluded to the fact that there wasn't enough time, there wasn't conclusive investigations done, may I move to add a third one, that the report be referred to the Committee on Human Rights to take up the matter and investigate it to its final conclusion. Right, Honourable Speaker.
Honourable members, do we refer the report or the matter? Because you see, if you're talking about the report, it's different from referring the matter, which is an issue. Because we can, if it is the matter, then do we have to refer it? Because it is the mandate of the Committee on Human Rights to do such things on its own motion. They are not limited. Do we have to move them? If we want the Committee on Human Rights to look into this matter, do we have to tell them to do it, or is it within their mandate to do it? Because the member had made a proposal, I'm just trying to interrogate that same proposal. Yes, yes. Then I have the Honorable Bahati.
Guidance from you, because my understanding is that committees of this House receive business from the plenary. They do not go out on their own to look for every business outside, but I'm subject to your guidance.
Okay. Honorable Bahati, is it part of this? Can I deal with this? Honorable members, a committee of parliament can act on instructions of parliament, can also act on its own initiative. When the Committee of Gender went to deal with the issue of human trafficking in some parts of the world, they were not sent by the House. They just looked at the problem and said, no, let's go and find out. When committees of this House go on oversight visits to different places in this country, we don't send them. It's part of their mandate to just say, this matter is touchy, let's go and find out. And then they go. So that's why I'm saying the proposal by Honorable Sechikubo, is it in relation to the report or to the matter that is contentious, the matter that is being debated? I think it should be the matter itself, not the report. I'd pick the Honorable Bahati, please. Please, please. We've dealt with the matter, Honorable Sechikubo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Just want to build on what the Leader of Opposition mentioned, that actually in this Parliament, we are in the temple of democracy, and we should tell the truth and be objective and constructive. You have stated, Mr. Speaker, that the rest of other issues have been dealt with, and some overtaken by events. What remains are the two that we have read, that the military and other errant state functioning that are violating the law and eroding human rights, and dignity should account for their actions. Mr. Speaker, it now presupposes that actually the committee has investigated and found out that the military tortured people. Torture is a process. I don't accept it, but should be dealt with in a right manner, which is to investigate and confirm that this person was tortured and this is the person that tortured. So to stand here and the Parliament of Uganda without investigations condemn men and women of the armed forces who sacrifice their lives to defend us without investigating and giving it a due process of law, I think it will be defective. And because of that, Mr. Speaker, I move that these two recommendations are rejected.
Honorable members.
Thank you very much.
No, I haven't. Can I deal with this matter? Honorable Sechikubo, please. Honorable members, does this House agree that those matters should be investigated? Are we in agreement with that? Well, by the people who do investigations, ordinarily. Okay? So, if we have agreed that this matter should be investigated, wouldn't it just be proper for us to leave it that it should be investigated and please, and put a timeline within which either the Right Honorable Prime Minister or the Minister in charge of security would come back and brief the House as to how far have we gone on this matter. So that, yes, so that we instead of saying too many things which are not really, please, so that, we give a timeline. If it is 2 weeks, if it is 1 month, we agree on it and say, okay, this report is here, we have debated it. Can we give them time now to respond to these issues? We give them 2 weeks, and whether these people have been, that is also in line with what the Speaker requested, so that we deal with this. And a time when information has been gathered, whether there has been any investigation carried out, whether anybody has been arrested, or whether nobody has been arrested, then we have opportunity to review this matter again. Would that be proper? So that we avoid grounds that are not necessary. I'm just proposing. We have come this far, honorable members. Honorable members, we have come this. Can I agree on a time frame? Right Honorable Prime Minister?
Right Honorable Speaker, I support strongly the guidance you are giving that the matter should be properly investigated and government should come within a month to inform this August House on the progress that has been made both in investigation and also in dealing decisively with issues found out.
Honorable members, that is the proposal from
Right Honorable
the
Speaker, sir.
Please, Honorable Sechikubo, please. No, please. Honorable members, the Right Honorable Prime Minister has proposed a month, has requested that government can come back in a month and deal with all the outstanding issues on where we have gone with the investigation, if anybody has been arrested, if anybody is being prosecuted, and then we again pick up the matter from there as requested for a month. Leader of the opposition, a month would be reasonable? You see, honorable members,
Thank you,
we are
right,
trying to find
thank
a
you,
way
right
forward.
Honorable Speaker. Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. We can afford the 1 month, but our fear is sometimes the perpetrators are supposed to be even the investigators. So that is the biggest fear that we have. In the event that the police, at least I say it here, that DPC, the District Police Commander of Gulu, tortured the Arua woman councillor, Asara, and even the RPC of West Nile, was involved in the torture. Yeah, you can say you are order, but that
Point
is
of order.
I will say it, but that is...
Right Honorable Speaker, I respect the leader of the opposition. I also respect the guidance you have given. I respect the way we have proceeded. And coming to a conclusion, is the leader of the opposition holding the floor to categorically, as if the matter has been concluded, allege, accuse specific officers of the security forces like those she has mentioned without investigation and final judgment by courts of law to condemn and use the privilege of this house, the members of by giving names that they tortured, a word we have questioned in this house. Is she in order to categorically allege what she cannot substantiate?
Thank you. Honorable members, I think it's important that we use our words carefully. The Honorable Leader of the Opposition was saying that there are already areas where there are complaints, and he should have stated that way, so that it will be like information that could lead to the people who are going to investigate those particular allegations, instead of already concluding on the floor that happened. I wish you could have just given information and said, this category of people, the investigation should also touch them. Honorable members, I hear issues of who will do the investigations. Honorable members, all these forces have their units that deal with the issues of discipline. I do not see any possibility of anybody else going to a military installation to carry out investigations. It would be a wild dream. I do not anticipate that any civilian can go and start investigating members of the police force. That would be a high-sounding thing which is empty. The forces, if they abuse it, will still have recourse to when these matters come back, because they have their units that deal with these matters, and we are trusting them now to do their jobs. If they fail, yes, Leader.
Right Honorable Speaker, I believe that committees of parliament have a lot of powers and authorities. And even then, the committee which will be assigned to do this can actually summon the people who deploy. Who are the people who deploy? You mean IGP cannot come before a committee of parliament? You mean even the CDF cannot come before a committee of parliament? When they chase us like dogs, but sometimes they can also come before the committee of parliament. So why can't we use them to expose those who were deployed, if at all we want this to be credible? Otherwise, how can the police, which perpetuate, which...
Honorable members. Honorable members, please. Honorable members, please. I think we have done well. I think we have done well. We have come this far. Let's keep moving this way. Because let's trust the institutions that are mandated to deal with these things. They will come back. When they come back and we are not satisfied, we will have given them the chance to do it. We will have given them the chance to do it. You see, then we have full recourse to deal with the matter. But let's trust the institutions that are mandated. Yes, yes, yes. Guidance. Order.
Right Honorable Speaker, Right Honorable Speaker, there was a statement made by the leader of opposition in general terms that the police who are the perpetrators of this event. She didn't qualify it. I'm aware that in this house, the police have been the punching bags, but they are also good members of the police force. Is it in order to leave it on the record of this house that the police per se are perpetrators of torture and crimes in this country, when in fact the police have been doing very commendable job? Is it in order?
Honorable Leader of the Opposition, would you like to correct the record?
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I also don't mean all of them. That's why I said the IGP and the Commander of Defense Forces. Those two people know those who were deployed there. So if I say it in general term, I just would like to say it's specifically on those who tortured. Not all. I know that we are also protected by police here. So I cannot say all the police are bad. But I mentioned the RPC of West Nile that was alleged by the people who were tortured. And also the DPC of Gulu by the people who were tortured.
Order.
Thank you.
Point of order. Point of order.
Mr. Speaker, I'm raising on a point of order with a heavy heart. First of all, the motion is for adoption of a report. Number two, the leader of opposition is focusing on the police and individuals. Why don't we, Speaker, you guided yesterday the scientific way of making decisions. You look at cause and effect. And let me add, in the theory of relativity, if you take action, you expect a reaction. Why are we concentrating on the effects without answering the question, who threw the stone on the convoy of the president? Who did it? Was he alone? Did he have others? Mr. Speaker, what was the motive behind throwing this stone? Don't they know by annoying a president, by ridiculing him, by alarming him, they commit an offense? Why don't you allow? No, this report is defective unless you answer the cause of what sparked off the consequences we are suffering from. We are wasting our time, Mr. Speaker. Is it in order? Is it in order, Mr. Speaker, for members of this parliament, filibuster to obstructively engage you and almost exhausting your patience. And once you have adjourned Parliament twice, 3 times because of obstruction, is it in order? Surely, we can't come here.
Honorable members, we are trying to deal with a situation that is not very normal. We are trying to get the best out of it that will bring this house together and bring this country together. We don't want to inflate anything by what we say or some of the decisions we can make. We want to bring healing by what we do. And healing means there should be justice and accountability. There should be justice and accountability. This is what we are drawing towards. The victims must receive justice. Whoever is responsible for victimizing them must account for their actions. That's why we are here. And there are ways of doing this. We don't want the popular way of doing things. We want the correct way of doing things. The popular way may not necessarily be right. So we want to do it properly so that when the people are doing their job, they know that we are also waiting, we are also anxious, and they'll come and report to us that this is what we have done. If we have problems with it, we can pick it from there. Procedure.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker and Leader of Opposition. What I wanted to confirm to you that actually in the UPDF now we know that the Board of Inquiries has been put in place and is doing its work. But the point of procedure I wanted to raise, Mr. Speaker and honorable colleagues, we have moved miles on this issue this evening, and we actually now have a common ground where justice will be dispensed in an orderly manner. Wouldn't it be procedure right, Mr. Speaker? Now that we have proposed, members have proposed and you are guiding, and the Prime Minister has committed that within 1 month he will come back to this House and report on the progress we are making in terms of investigations and the actions that have been taken on whoever will be found and from whichever side of the issue. Wouldn't it be procedure right, Mr. Speaker, that now that we have reached this level, in a very bipartisan manner, and we are moving forward, isn't it the right time now, Mr. Speaker, that this debate can close at this mood of the House, so that we move from this House when actually we are on the common ground?
That's what I was proposing. As leader of the opposition, can I wrap this up? The honorable member had sought procedural issue also. Can you deal with it? Then I see how to wind this up. Microphone.
Right Honorable Speaker, I take your guidance with relief because it leads us somewhere. There seems to be 2 issues. The first is who does the investigation. And as you rightly guided, that the institutional mechanisms be given a chance. The only guidance that I would seek is, one, from the statement of the Prime Minister. He has already justified what his men did, and he's the government representative, official representative in Parliament. He has already praised them. The minister responsible for security, my brother was guided yesterday that he's actually my father, the Honorable General Eli Tumwine, has already justified what his men did. And yesterday, I restrained the member who was telling me that the Honorable Tumwine himself is not free from violence. I did restrain that member. He was reminding me of the past when he was alleged to have assaulted another member. And I gave him the benefit of age. Yes. You know, it is age I respect because I'm yet to get there. I would seek your guidance on whether under those circumstances, it would not be proper to get an independent body. Not to punish, but to heal. And that healing process, because this is a parliamentary process, now when we get our own process and hand it over, in that process, the players could be under investigation. Take the example, Colonel Don Nabasa. If he's assigned to investigate his men, and then there is a question of command and responsibility, which may also be a subject of investigation. How is he going to, you make life difficult for him. How is he going to investigate? If you are talking about, I'm seeking guidance. If you're talking about the CDF, my brother David Muhozi, I'm seeking guidance, I will not be informed. If you're talking about my brother David Muhozi, the CDF, assuming in the investigation he's supposed to be investigated, don't you find it difficult, Mr. Speaker? Would it not be persuasive to our colleagues that we assign an independent body? Because the Prime Minister is on record, he has where he belongs. The Minister is on record, he has where he belongs. The President is on record, he has where he belongs. They are all justified. And finally, Mr. Speaker, I normally seek guidance from the Honorable Guma Kumisiriza because of his seniority, but not at least not today. But for now, the President has also given his version. Since we started talking about this issue, the killing of Yasin Kauma has been avoided by the state. Would you not guide that we get somebody to do it independently? Thank you.
Honorable members, we are all in this country, and we have witnessed things that have happened in this country. I never intended to mention this, but now we all know that the person who was commanding the entire police is under prosecution. And it's a full general in the military. It did not take any intervention from us for them to do this. You see, there is the decent way of doing these things. And that's what I am calling for. We are all here. 1 month is 3 weeks. It's 30 days. Calculating in hours, it's not that long. We give the government that chance for the institutions that are in this sector to do their job, failing which we activate our other processes. But first, let's give them a chance. That's all I'm proposing. And because of that, I was going to propose this. Please. Well, I was just going to propose this. This would be a good way to end this debate. That the House resolves that those individuals and state institutions that are complicit, maybe we should say the House resolves that those individuals that are complicit in the derogation of human rights and dignity should be investigated and punished. Should be investigated, prosecuted, and punished. And that the Right Honorable Prime Minister report to the House on the actions taken within 1 month. That's okay? I'll put the question to this. Will those in favor say aye? To the contrary, no. Aye. The ayes have it. Thank you. Next item. Procedure.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to raise this matter of procedure. And I rise on two issues which arose before and after this report was presented. And the two issues are, one, my involvement as a member of the ad hoc committee. It was yesterday raised by Honorable Odria, Aringa South constituency, and this afternoon by another honorable member who was seated there, and he specifically mentioned my name. Mr. Speaker, I would like to put it on record that I did not in any way solicit to be on this committee while it was being formed here in this August House. And that I was informed after the House was adjourned by Honorable Both that I had been requested to be on the committee, and therefore we should go to the Speaker's chambers, to which, Mr. Speaker, I complied, and indeed the Speaker informed me of her decision to bring me on board after having a discussion with Honorable Oboth. And I did not object to her assignment of me on this ad hoc committee. And it's true, Mr. Speaker, that I traveled with this ad hoc committee to Gulu and witnessed whatever the committee has reported. Mr. Speaker, the second issue I want to put on record is the question of my signature on the signature page of this report, which was also queried here. Mr. Speaker, on the day we agreed that we should, as ad hoc committee, sit and look through the report before we sign it, I had a trip to Rome, and indeed, in the morning I came, it was on a Monday, I came and sat with the committee, we looked through the report, and I was in agreement with most of the issues that were raised, and I asked if the committee can excuse me to leave because my flight was in the afternoon, check-in was at 1 p.m. So I requested that they allow me to sign the signature page while leaving the other pages of the report because the clerk was yet to reproduce them with the corrections. And I did exactly that. I was given the permission. I signed the signature page and left for the airport. And precisely that is the correct version as far as my involvement in this, the production of this report is concerned. And I have no any other ulterior motive other than the terms of reference that were given by this August House. I thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Member, for correcting the record. Not on this issue, please. Not on this issue. I think that is clear. He has explained. We cannot open it up for debate. Next item.
Item number 4, bills, second reading.
Honourable Minister. Proceed, Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, we've had some consultations with the Right Honourable Prime Minister regarding this bill on the Uganda National Health Laboratory Services Bill. And we are, as you know, having some discussions at cabinet level. We want to request that this matter be shelved for the meantime as we consult internally. At an appropriate time, Right Honourable Speaker, we shall update you on our decisions at cabinet level.
Honourable Minister, are you consulting on the committee report? What are you consulting on? Because the committee has examined this matter. The committee has examined this matter and they are ready to report. If there are issues of consultation that relate to things that are not part of what Parliament has already done, do we still have to hold this bill on the floor?
No, Right Honourable Speaker, they are on some of the issues which are in the report, and we are requesting, Right Honourable Speaker.
Honourable members, may I know this exodus of the
Right Honourable Speaker, the committee has produced its report, which we have looked at. And Right Honourable Speaker, you are aware that government right now is trying to rationalize boards and certain institutions, and this is why we are requesting that we stay discussion on this until we have discussed this internally.
So what are we going to stay? What are we going to stay? You guide me. What are you asking me to stay?
Right Honourable Speaker, I request that we stay the second reading of this report until at an appropriate time when we are ready. Right Honourable Speaker.
Chair.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. The issue at stake is about establishing an authority, and I think that is what is contentious. And if we remove the authority from the bill collapses, 80% of it goes. So I would propose that the minister withdraws the bill and they go back and sit and formulate another one. That is the best way forward. Unless if cabinet changes its decision and agrees that they are going to authorize another authority to be formed.
Right Honourable, please.
Right Honourable Speaker, it's true, as we have heard from both the Minister and the Chair of the committee, government is reviewing parastatals, bodies and authorities with a view to merging a number of them and absorbing some in their mother ministries to really streamline the running of government and also minimize expenditure, and above all, improve service delivery. So I think the view that Cabinet should first of all handle the work it is doing and do more consultations on this matter is appropriate. Now the issue is, should the bill be withdrawn or should it be deferred to a later time? I think it would be more realistic to defer it because Cabinet is now in the process, actually, has already started discussing this matter, and within the next couple of weeks, the matters should have been concluded. Then after that, Right Honourable Speaker, this August House can be authoritatively advised on the next step to be taken. I thank you.
See, Right Honourable Prime Minister, this is not to say the Cabinet should not look at this again. Now, once the Cabinet has looked at it again, are we going to send it back to committee? Because those will be new issues. Those will be new issues. The committee is ready with the report that is uploaded already here. So when you come back from Cabinet, are we going to send those issues back to committee? Because if the issue will substantially affect the bill, it might be smarter to take it back, review it, plug in all that you need to do, and then come back with it when it is in a different form. It will be smarter. But if you think it is a smart way to do it,
Right Honourable Speaker, Your advice is taken.
Thank you. Right Honorable Minister, would you like to move the House to give you leave to withdraw this bill?
Yes, Right Honorable Speaker, as Honorable Both has said, painfully, yes, I want to request that the House gives us leave to withdraw the Uganda National Health Laboratory Services Bill that we had presented to this House.
Thank you. Is the motion seconded? Seconded by the member for Oyam North, Minister for Lands, the Honorable Minister in charge of Security, General Eletumine, Honorable Moses Zige, member for Bugabula, Honorable Oboth, member for West Budama South. So the motion is seconded. Do we need to debate this motion, or should I put the question? Honorable members, I'll put the question to the motion proposed by the Minister that the bill entitled the Uganda National Health Laboratory Services Bill 2016 be withdrawn, that the House grants her leave to withdraw. Will those in favor say to the contrary? No. The ayes have it. Next item. Next item.
Item number 5, Bill's second reading.
Honorable Minister. Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, I beg to move that the bill entitled the Mental Health Bill 2014 be read for the second time.
Is the motion seconded? It's seconded by a member for Bugabala, also Minister of State in charge of Karamoja, member for Kinkizi East, Minister of State for Lands in charge of urban, is it? Of housing, and then I think this is now the honorable member for Oyam North, who is also the Minister of Lands. Look, this is like honorable Oboth, member for West Budama South, and member for Kole North, Honorable Uchen Nakalo. The motion is seconded. Would you like to speak to your motion?
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, the Mental Health Bill has been proposed because the current Mental Health Act of 1964 is outdated. And Right Honorable Speaker, this Mental Health Act that has been in existence did not provide for treatment of persons with mental challenges, and what is existing in this Mental Health Act is that persons who have mental disorders are supposed to be removed from society and confined in certain places. Right Honorable Speaker, mental disorders as we speak now account for close to 13% of the global burden of the diseases worldwide. Uganda, Right Honorable Speaker, has been ranked among the top 6 countries in Africa with the highest cases of mental disorder, according to the World Health Organization. Right Honorable Speaker, the latest WHO report of 2006 indicates that at least 7.4% of Ugandans suffer from common mental disorders, particularly depression, anxiety, and also as a result of alcohol and other substance abuse. Right Honorable Speaker, the mental health services in the country are supposed to be delivered in an integrated manner under our minimum health care package based on the Uganda clinical guidelines. WHO, Right Honorable Speaker, developed Mental Health Action Plan for 2013-2020 to guide the member states on mental health care. So, Right Honorable Speaker, the bill that is being proposed is to provide for care and treatment for persons with mental illness at the primary health care centers. Honorable members and Right Honorable Speaker, I want to state that currently We have limited services at lower health facilities for mental health care, and a majority of our populations in the rural communities seek for treatment from traditional healers for mental health care. So the bill, Right Honourable Speaker, is to operationalize the National Health Policy, which identifies mental health services as an essential aspect of the health care. The policy advocates for mental health services at all levels to be integrated into the general health care and prescribes for update and enforcement of appropriate laws to promote mental health. So, Right Honourable Speaker, this bill is intended to ensure that Ugandans with these challenges are not can be able to access mental health care at all facilities across the country. So, Right Honourable Speaker, it's in that spirit that I beg to move that this bill, the Mental Health Bill 2014, be supported by the members so that it can be passed into law. I beg to move.
Be read the second time. Not the bill be read the second time.
Right Honourable Speaker, it's in that spirit that I want to propose that the Mental Health Bill 2014 be read for the second time. Thank you.
Thank you very much, honourable members. Before I propose the question, let me recognize in the public gallery this afternoon, we have teachers and pupils from Abilonino Demonstration Primary School in Kole, South County, Kole District, represented in the House by Honourable Chen Peter and Honourable Aliek Judith. They will be here to observe the proceedings. Please join me in welcoming them. You are very welcome. Honourable members, the motion that I propose for your debate is that the bill entitled the Mental Health Bill 2014 be read the second time. And to start off this process, this matter was referred to our in-house committee on health. We'd like to hear this report, and then we'll proceed from there. Chair. Procedure. Microphone.
Much, Right Honourable Speaker. I was just trying to search for the report. Unless there is a problem with my iPad, I have failed to access it. Can we be helped so that we can proceed with the debate? On today's business, I don't find it. How did you get it? I just need some help. Yeah.
Honourable members, it is possible because the decision to bring this matter forward was taken this morning. It's possible that this report is not there, but clerk, would you like to cross-check? It's there? Oh, please check again. No, this is the bill, the Mental Health Bill 2014. No, the laboratories one. Is there? Okay, it's there. Please search again. It's already in the system. Chair?
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker, for this opportunity. Before I proceed, Right Honourable Speaker, allow me to lay on table a copy of the report and a copy of minutes that were made during the discussions with the different stakeholders.
Let the records capture the minutes of this committee report, and also the text of the report of the committee. Proceed, Chair.
Well, Right Honourable Speaker, I'm here to present a report of the Sectoral Committee on the Mental Health Bill 2014. Right Honourable Speaker, the Mental Health Bill 2014 was read for the first time on 15th August 2015. However, the 9th Parliament was unable to consider the bill and thus it was shelved. Consequently, on 21st July 2016, the 10th Parliament reinstated the bill and the Committee of Health, in accordance with Rule 185C commenced with the consideration and scrutiny. Part of the background, I think, has been mentioned and listed by the Minister, so I'm going to, in the interest of time, to skip. But the main issue is that the current law which we are using, the Mental Health Treatment Act, the Mental Treatment Act 1964, is outdated and does not take into account the discovery of medicines and other treatment interventions that have revolutionized the care of persons with mental illness. And B, the human rights and medical treatment standards of persons suffering with mental illness are also not taken into consideration. I will jump and go to the objects of the bill, which is A, the bill seeks to provide for care and treatment of persons with mental illness at primary health care centers, to provide for the admission, for treatment, and for discharge from facilities of mental health units of persons with mental illness, and C, to ensure that persons with mental illness are enabled to seek treatment voluntarily, D, to ensure the safety and protection of the rights and safety of the people who come into contact with the mentally ill people, and E is to establish a mental health advisory board. Furthermore, the bill is intended to operationalize the national health policy, which identifies mental health services as an essential aspect of health care. The policy advocates for mental health services at all levels to be integrated into general health care and prescribes for the update and enforcement of appropriate laws to promote mental health. The purpose of the proposed mental health bill is to bring the care and management of people with mental health challenges in line with the principles of the national health policy. And the bill takes into account the currently available evidence-based approaches of managing mental health challenges. And it seeks to safeguard the human rights of those who are affected and will be in line with the international human rights conventions and standards. The methodology is as outlined, so I will skip and go to the key observations and recommendations. I'll start with the key definitions. One is one of A, mental illness. The committee noted that there is no agreed upon definition of the term mental illness. Some authors refer to the term mental illness as a variety of disorders causing severe disturbances in thinking, feeling, and relating to others. Persons suffering with mental illness have a substantially diminished capacity for coping up with the ordinary demands of life. World Health Organization does not have a definition of mental illness, but defines mental disorders as a broad range of problems with different symptoms characterized by abnormal thoughts, emotions, behavior, and relationship with others. The fifth and most current edition of the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders from the American Psychiatry Association defines a mental disorder as a syndrome characterized by clinically significant disturbance in an individual's cognition, emotion regulation, or behavior that reflects a dysfunction in the psychological, biological, or developmental processes underlying mental functioning. Mental disorders are usually associated with significant distress in social, occupational, or other important activities. Expectable or culturally approved response to a common stressor or loss, such as the death of a loved one, is not a mental disorder. Socially deviant behavior, e.g. political, religious, or sexual, and conflicts that are primarily between individuals and society. The 10th and most current edition of the International Classification of Mental Disorders avoids the complexities of the terms disease or illness and rather uses mental disorder, which is defined as the existence of a clinically recognizable set of symptoms or behavior associated in most cases with distress and with interference with personal function. social deviance or conflict alone without personal dysfunction should not be included in mental disorders as defined here. The second definition is mental disability. These are important because we are going to engage with them in the actual bill. The committee noted that most definitions of mental disability recognize that there must be impairment and functional limitation. The Collins English Dictionary defines disability as a general or specific intellectual handicap resulting directly or indirectly from injury to the brain or from abnormal neurological development. In Uganda, disability is broadly defined as a substantial functional limitation of daily life activities caused by physical, mental, or sensory impairment and environmental barriers resulting in limited participation. C is what is called psychiatric disability. The term psychiatric disability is used when mental illness significantly interferes with the performance of major life activities such as learning, working, and communicating, among others. To qualify for disability or as a mental disorder, it must interfere in one's ability to work in order to provide for themselves financially, significantly reduce one's capacity to complete tasks of daily living, e.g. shopping, self-care, food preparation, etc., or prevent one from caring for him or herself and others. So the recommendation of the committee here is that the use of mental illness, as it is the one in use by known international classification guidelines. Burden of mental illness. The committee was informed that mental illness is a condition that affects a person's thinking, feeling, or mood. And such conditions may affect someone's ability to relate with others and functionality. Different people have different experiences, including with the same diagnosis. Mental disorders account for 13% of the global burden of disease, and Uganda, like the minister said, has been ranked among the top 6 in Africa. The Uganda National Health Survey of 2005-2006 estimated that 7% of all households in Uganda have a disability. And of these, 58% had at least one family member with mental illness. There are common mental disorders, e.g. depression, anxiety, and alcohol use disorders, among others, and severe mental illnesses, for example, bipolar disorders, psychosis, and epilepsy. The latest WHO report, the WHO report of 2006 indicated that at least 7.4% Ugandans suffer from these illnesses, and particularly depression, anxiety, and alcohol use disorders. At the health facility level, the WHO estimates that at least 33% attend for a mood disorder such as depression. The number could be higher, but because many victims stay in villages without care, it is reflected as thus. It is estimated that the treatment gap of mental disorders, defined as the proportion of those that get treatment to total that need it. In Uganda is 85%, meaning that only 15% of those with mental illness that need care do get it. Ironically, there are no reliable national statistics for the prevalence of the severe mental disorders, but there is evidence that attendance in mental health outpatient clinics of such disorders is on the rise. The rise in mental disorders is due to factors such as poverty, infection as HIV, rising burden of chronic diseases such as cancer and diabetes, effects of civil war or insurgency, and the growing problem of alcohol and substance disorders. For instance, previous studies have put the prevalence of bipolar disorder at 3% of the total Ugandan population, while epilepsy has been estimated at 3% in the community and 17% in health facility attendances. Observation is while mental illnesses are on the rise in Uganda, there is lack of very little statistical data on the national prevalence of various mental illnesses in the country is not helping the situation. And the recommendation is that the Minister of Health should consider carrying out mental health surveys and integrate mental health care service data into national health planning. Psychiatric care for mental illness. The committee learned that the mental health services are significantly underfunded, with only 1% of the health expenditure going to mental health and skewed towards the urban areas. There are 1.4 per 100,000 community inpatient beds per 100,000 persons, and that is by 2005. These beds are in regional referral and mental health units, and they are now much fewer, to less than 1 per 100,000 population. Since the beds have not increased, but the population has grown to nearly 40 million, yet the statistics given are for 2005. The mental hospital also houses 116 forensic beds, but there are hardly mentally ill offenders admitted there. This is because it is not secure enough for such patients. As a result, these patients continue to be kept in prisons around the country, and there are no forensic beds elsewhere in the country. There are 13 regional referral mental health units and 1 national mental hospital with 550 beds. However, the bed occupancy is 150%, indicating a 50% rate of extra cases. The National Mental Hospital has a few specialized units. There are 30 beds in the Children and Adolescent Health Unit, dedicated to the children and adolescents with mental illness in the country, since there are no specific services dedicated to children with mental illness in other regions in the country. 30 of the beds at the mental hospital are dedicated to alcohol and drug rehabilitation services. There are no other beds in the country dedicated for this purpose. A few beds are available in the private hospitals, but the number has not been established. Much of the country has no access to specialized mental health services, such as child and adolescent and alcohol and drug rehabilitation services. Of necessity, some specialized care may need to be residential, whether public or private. The committee observed that the 30 beds available for children and adolescents at the National Referral Hospital are not adequate to serve the entire country. The procedure for admitting and discharging persons with mental disorders is not feasible in the present context where the numbers are quite big. The bill should provide for sensitization for public about the causes of mental illness and methods of prevention of mental illness. The idea of treating people at the primary health care level is very progressive. There is need to address child psychiatry, which is a growing discipline. The committee recommends that government should establish a framework for extending mental health care services to regional and primary health centers, and also B, encourage the private sector to participate in mental health care services. 4.4 is about alternative treatments. The committee noted that alternative healers provide an alternative system of care for the mentally ill, and they are culturally acceptable in resource-limited communities. Mental illnesses are a common reason to visit traditional healers and religious leaders as an alternative. Abo and others in their study of 2009 found that the majority, 65.1% of people that visited traditional healers had psychological distress. Of these ill health, nearly 30% had severe mental illness, i.e. bipolar disorder and schizophrenia. 14.6% had the more common mental disorders of depression and anxiety, while 3.9% had suicidal tendencies. The committee observed that while the traditional healers and religious leaders are accepted and widely used by communities, there is no legal framework to regulate their activities, and at times they may cause harm and delay in seeking effective evidence-based treatments in health facilities, even for patients with severe mental disorders and suicide. In the recommendation, we thought that this will be conclusively dealt with in the Indigenous and Complementary Medicines Bill, which the committee is about to conclude scrutiny of. Number 4.5 is stigma and mental illness. The committee noted that the stigma surrounding mental health and its treatment is one of the greatest barriers to mental health care. It causes discrimination, deprivation, and exclusion of individuals and reduces access to care by individuals who need it the most. Despite the high prevalence of mental illness in Uganda, previous studies in Uganda have consistently demonstrated that stigmatizing of the mentally ill is still highly prevalent and not only by the general population but also by health providers. According to Dr. Mutamba of Butabika Hospital in 2005, indicated that the hospital had 34.6% of patients in the outpatient department and 42.5% of those in the inpatients who felt stigmatized, indicating that local beliefs were the major cause of mental illness. One such belief is that mental illness is contagious. The committee observed that stigma makes community to be discriminative and exclude people with mental illness from community activities, including work and development activities, which they would otherwise engage in, perpetuating poverty of families and communities. This vicious cycle of poverty and mental illness has been well elaborated in low-income countries such as Uganda. Due to stigma,
Chair, are you going to read the whole report?
Okay, I can start doing recommendations maybe.
I think so.
Yes. So recommendation, the committee recommends that government should allocate resources for mobilization and sensitization of the community on the mental health care services and work towards eliminating discrimination, deprivation, and exclusion of individuals' access to mental health facilities. The next one was on human resource. The committee expressed concern over the low staffing levels of mental health workers required in order to serve the country more equitably and efficiently that cannot cope with the growing burden of mental health challenges. And the recommendation was that the committee recommends that the government should make deliberate efforts to train and recruit mental health service providers. Health promotion and disease prevention. The committee recommended that government should adopt a multi-sectoral approach to enhance collaboration with development partners to undertake mental health promotion and disease prevention intervention, and messages for behavioral change must be redesigned to communicate a manner that gives adequate information to the population on health promotion. Community mental health service delivery. The committee recommends that government should work out a method of the implementation of the community mental health service provision. Mental health among children and adolescents. The committee recommends that government should put in place a progressive legal policy and regulatory framework to address accessibility and affordability by the children and adolescents to alcohol and drug rehabilitation services. Ways for admission and treatment for persons with mental illness. There is emergency admission, assisted admission, voluntary admission, involuntary admission, which involve the police. And the committee recommends the government should fund the police adequately in order to empower it to effect the apprehension of persons with mental illness in a humane manner, and consequently take them to health units for assessment and treatment. B, there is need for a deliberate effort for government to establish specialized units and accordingly train and skill police officers and other persons who are empowered by the bill in the administration and apprehension of persons with mental illness for purposes of taking them for assessment and treatment so that it is done in accordance with human rights standards. The committee also undertook a study visit to Nairobi, and after it learned a few things, it recommended that government should adopt the World Health Organization best practices in the management and governance of mental health service delivery by ensuring global practices that promote equitable health governance systems through policies as reflected by the World Health Organization. And B, government should improve the quality of service and ensure respect of human rights in mental health units and social care facilities as are provided in the WHO Quality Rates Toolkit and Checklist for Evaluation in Mental Health Plan. Treatment options. Members should note that there are treatment options that are not very palatable to the patients and to the human rights organizations, like electroconvulsive therapy. You will read the detail about this treatment, but the committee recommends that ECT, electroconvulsive therapy, is a viable method that should not be deleted from the bill, but instead checks and balances should be put in place to cater for possible abuse and misuse of the treatment option. Such measures include ensuring that it should only be recommended for use by highly trained and experienced psychiatrists in case of involuntary admission, and for voluntary admission, informed consent should be given. And a deterrent fine and sentence should be given to a person who performs ECT contrary to the law in order to deter the would-be offenders. And C, the head note treatment for involuntary patients appearing before clause 11 should be deleted and substituted with treatment options. Oh, I've skipped, I think. I think the deterrent fine and sentence should be given to a person who performs ECT. Yes, it is okay, I was okay. The head note treatment for involuntary patients appearing before clause 11 should be deleted and substituted with treatment options so that the treatments are only for involuntary patients. There's a clause that talks about seclusion of patients, and the committee recommended that seclusion.
But Honorable, don't you think when you're now dealing with the provisions can be at another stage?
No, because it came up with a lot of debate.
That will come in the amendment.
Okay. I think I will do the recommendation that seclusion is a treatment option that cannot be dealt away with. However, as WHO guidelines clearly state, government should ensure that rooms for seclusion satisfy the standards required in order to ensure patient safety, and it should be given only as a last resort and under the supervision and recommendation of a psychiatrist. And then budget allocation should be specifically made towards funding of the current national mental health referral hospital, and a deterrent fine and sentence should be put in place for a person who keeps a person in seclusion contrary to the law in order to deter the would-be offenders. Right Honourable Speaker, I beg to submit.
Thank you very much, Chair. Honourable members, I have already proposed a question, but let me ask this. This matter, as presented by the Minister in the justification to the motion and the report of the committee has agreed with the principles of the bill and has gone ahead to begin making proposals for amendment that could improve on this bill. I will propose the question for debate. Should we engage a debate at this stage at the principles of this bill, or should we go straight to committee stage and handle it at that stage to deal with amendments? West Budama, North, South?
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. There cannot be any other better time than this very time in my generation to see the mental health bill in this House. What a hope for this country. Right Honourable Speaker, we are talking about mental health. And I don't think the committee disagrees a lot as you're guiding. It would have been my humble prayer that when time allows,
you would put a question, and then we go to the committee stage and debate at that stage, so that this bill, if all of us knew about it, was needed the other day. And good resolutions or decisions must be carried out like crying babies in church. What they do to crying babies during the sermon, they are carried out immediately. So I propose, Right Honorable Speaker, that if it would please you, then we'd put a question, we adopt the report, and we go to debate the report at the committee stage when we're doing the bill, yeah, with amendments.
Honorable members, would this be a good way to proceed? Do we need to debate the principles of this bill?
Welcome back from today's sitting, and we do apologize for cutting you short. But however, we still have to bring you more updates as we inspire you for the day. But as they wind up there, as far as today's sitting is concerned, we shall definitely update you in a timely news bulletins. All you have to do is keep watching UBC throughout the entire day. Well, today happened to be the 20th sitting of the first meeting of the third session of the 10th Parliament of Uganda. And still on the floor of Parliament there, they were looking at the bill's second reading, that is to do with the Uganda National Health Laboratory Service Bill 2016. And there, the chairperson of that particular committee was still submitting onto the floor of Parliament. Earlier to that, we had issues arising to do with the motion for the adoption of the report of the ad hoc committee on the investigation into the condition of members and other suspects arrested in the run-up to the by-election for Arua municipality. And this was presented earlier on from the hour of 2 p.m. by the chairperson of the ad hoc committee onto the floor of Parliament. And the issues arising there, maybe just a recap and a reminder to you of who could have missed out as regarding to how this motion came to the House, though it wasn't adopted. Today we shall be getting to know, since we have another sitting that will be coming through to you tomorrow's session as we wind up the week. Well, the ad hoc committee came into introduction on the 15th on the 15th day